All right, I think we are back. I usually restart my internet. Thank you for your patience. Sorry about that. I usually restart my internet before I start streaming, but woke, like I said earlier, I woke up a little bit late. A little bit. I'm gonna say a little bit late, a little bit later than I normally do, and so I think that got me a little bit off here as far as just getting myself set up. But we are back. It looks like things are streaming better now. Um, so thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. But I am back. Happy Wednesday. If you're just joining us again, happy Wednesday here. Captain Coder stream almost every day, 5 a.m. Phoenix time. And let's get, so Phoenix time's weird because it doesn't follow daylight savings time, so it's different at different times of the year. Well, really, it's the same all times of the year, but other places are different times of the year. Let us get Unity open here, but we're gonna hop back in to our RPG prototype. So for anyone who's curious, well, Unity's booting up for us. I'm gonna do a little bit of a promotion here. Daniel, happy Wednesday, my friend. Welcome back. It's so nice to see you. Daniel is one of our new found friends here on Twitch. Twitch. I was gonna say Twitter, but we're making an RPG prototype. I'm making a project for it. If anyone's interested in learning how to, take the project I'm building, I'm putting up a class project based on it at adventurequest.captaincoder.org. You can school right now. Gotcha. What are you studying in school? Are you at university? Are you what am I trying to say? University, or are you pre-university or post-university? High school. Gotcha. Cool. Well, happy Wednesday. Thanks for coming in by. Thanks for coming in. Glad to have you here. If anyone's interested in following along with the project that I'm making here, I've been publishing these project steps, right? So these are full of challenges, not just a tutorial, but it has these challenges in here to try and get you over that hump and actually learn a little bit about software engineering, learn about coding in Unity. So adventurequest.captaincoder.org, and give me your feedback. Join the Discord. If you check it out, please join the Discord. Let me know what you think. Over on YouTube, Mike Collard, which happens to be my father, says, "Good morning, Captain. Have a great hump day. I'll be in and out before you even know I'm here." Well, thank you so much, Dad, for your support. So nice to see you in the mornings sometimes. Most days popping in. I don't always see it over on YouTube. I don't always see the chat, but good morning. Happy Wednesday, Dad. And here we are hopping in. All right, so stream died, but we're back. So just to recap here, my goal is to add equipment sprites, equipment manifest render, and bonus is to add chest piece, legs, head, and feet, so that way we can equip those things to our character. I'm so sorry to hear that. Upset stomach, no good. As I say, no bueno, which is essentially no good, but that's no good. I'm sorry to hear your stomach's hurting. Oh, I don't like when my stomach hurts. And then when it's not continuous, that's almost worse. All right, so here's what we have. We have our equipment screen. Technic under the hood in the code, the dagger's actually equipped there, but we gotta get ourselves some artwork to put in there. So we're gonna go find some icons. All right, so I love OpenGameMart.org. Excuse me. OpenGameMart.org is a fantastic place to get essentially royalty-free artwork for your projects. When you're prototyping, it's a great place to find artwork. So we are gonna do that today. We're gonna look for weapon icons. Yeah, so great point, Daniel. You cannot always find what you're looking for. Marco over on YouTube, happy Wednesday. And you're not late. You're not late. I'm late. I'm late. So I got started a bit late here. Was having some internet trouble. I woke up a little bit later than I normally do, and happened to be get started a little bit later. All right, so we're gonna use these icons. This site's awesome. This site is awesome for getting some of your, just finding assets to use. As Daniel pointed out, you can't always find what you want, but if you try, sometimes you get what you need. You know, you can't always get what you want, but if you try, you can usually get what you need for your prototype. If you're building not a prototype, probably got to hire somebody or have an artist on your team doing it. But here we go. I'm going to use this beautiful looking assets to try and get some sprites in here for weapons. And we're going to see if we can find some armor. I'm going to add this to our 2D dungeon crawl. I don't know why. I feel like maybe that's not the one I should put it in. Adventure prototype is the one I should be putting in. There it is. Add it to my collection. Like a rolling stone. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, so keep in mind, Daniel, they're not so much tutorials as they are projects. So these are like class projects. It's not going to walk you through every little detail. Instead, it's going to be like a high level overview. It's going to teach you some stuff, but it gets to a point where it's sort of like, all right, now you need to implement this thing. And it gives you like a high level guideline on how to do it. Because I think tutorials in general, except when you're like very beginning, tutorials in general aren't that great. Yeah, exactly, useful. Just wanted to be clear that, hey, it's not a a tutorial. I'm trying to make sure people know that. A tutorial, though, I do want to put together some tutorials, things like, you know, here is a step-by-step tutorial on how to position things on a screen or do some shopping. Yeah, exactly. I've never heard of the Rolling Stones. Is that like a movie? All right, so we got some assets here. These might just work nicely out of the box. We go to sprites. Rolling Stones. Nah, I've never heard of a band called the Rolling Stones. I'm sorry, I can't. That's a joke. That's a joke. Or is it? Here we go. So we got weapons. Well, I'm gonna create equipment and create a folder weapons. So I probably need to make these bigger. Probably need to scale them up, but Unity, we'll see how Unity does with scaling up. Let's go ahead and just, I thought this might be a sprite sheet, but that's okay. We'll just dump these in here. It's a lot. Let's see what they look like. Daniel, yeah, I also stream, I cross-stream to YouTube. Good question. You're wondering, like, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to, Daniel says. But Daniel, I'm cross-streaming to YouTube. So I like cross-streaming to YouTube because YouTube saves my videos forever, 4 or 5 ever. But Twitch doesn't allow. Twitch deletes them after 7 days. Yeah, so I technically could be affiliate, but I don't. I was looking at it, and it's all the ads and stuff make me really nervous. So I'm not doing this to try and make any money at all. So I'm happy to not be an affiliate. Is sort of how I feel right now. Is being an affiliate a little bit. I think it might turn people off in general. But yeah, I don't like the. I don't want ads. That's what it is. All right, so let's go look at our equipment manifest. So our equipment manifest. All right, so we need to add an equipment manifest renderer. All right, so we have the equipment manifest controller. The renderer I'm going to put inside. It's going to be housed inside. It's going to be, I'm just going to put renderer. And it is going to essentially be invisible. Little invisible thing in here. Corfless has been summoned. Welcome, Corfless. Corfless. Did my summoning ritual to get Corfless here. Had to, my stream had to go up and down a few times. Had to reboot my internet, and then that summons Corfless. Corfless the Great. Anyone who doesn't know, Corfless streams some programming in Godot, some gaming. So go check out Corfless if you haven't done so. Good stuff over there. Yeah, Daniel, I agree. I would love to have the channel feature points. Ooh, maybe I should look into Streamlabs. I haven't used Streamlabs. Oh, that's cool. I'm gonna look. That's awesome. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to look into that because I'm basically unaware of that. But yeah, some of the features that being an affiliate offers, like the points and whatnot, sound really cool. Exactly, Corfless. That's what Daniel was just saying. I'm gonna have to look into it. So I'm gonna have to find that out. Oh, my VS Code shut down when I rebooted here. Oh, so I'm getting distracted again. Thank you everyone for distracting me. I appreciate it. I wanted to see. I'm pretty sure all I really have to do here is going to be swap out. Oh, it's so light. Let's add in, can I add in, if I create an empty child, okay, undo, go back in time. If you do both YouTube and Twitch at the same time, you might want to Streamlabs version because it supports YouTube streams too, while Stream Elements version is Twitch only for some reason. Okay, I'll check it out. Well, I'm saying I'll check it out. Mental note that will evaporate highly likely. So keep reminding me because I want to check it out. But to check out Streamlabs, because that would be great to have some sort of point system. I think that'd be cool. I think it'd be fun for people. If anyone happens to be on the Discord, can pop that message into the Discord. There's a recommendations channel. Oh, Corfless, you read my mind. Corfless is always 2 thoughts ahead of me. So thank you, Corfless. I appreciate that. We were gonna go into our equipment slot prefabs. Our equipment slot needs to have an image inside. All right. Corfless. Because I was about to say, could someone go in to add it to my Discord channel so I don't forget? And we're gonna call this our equipped image. Okay. And we're gonna have it padded in here. We'll give it 5 pixels on all sides like this. And you don't need to actually download Streamlabs. You just need to sign up for Streamlabs on the browser and just go to the desktop. Interesting. Cool. I like things that I don't have to download. I like not having to download things. All right, let's see what it looks like here. All right, so if I put a dagger icon in here. Oh, I'm gonna have to. Those are so fluffy. But if I were to switch here to manifest. It's good mostly because Streamlabs sucks. Well, that's not horrible. Maybe I'll leave that. All right, I like that. That's not too bad. It'll be in full screen. It'll be horrific. Let's go look at what it looks like in full screen mode. I need to get some better. Maximize. If you want to see some blurry, high quality game graphics, there we go. We'll find some better ones at some point. But this is just, ooh, I keep bumping stuff. Just to build the prototype, right? Okay. Okay. Also, yes. All right. So now I need an equipment manifest renderer. So in our folder, in our scripts, equipment, it's going to be in UI. In script, UI, equipment. We want an equipment manifest renderer. Streamlabs just doesn't have as much features like OPS and OBS support plugins. Yeah, so I love you OBS. So I teach online. I do online teaching. I use OBS for all my online teaching as well. So I wouldn't want to replace it with some other software. Plugins would be fine. All right, so let's see if we can get a render here. So our equipment is going to need to have like a sprite associated with it, or some kind of ID that lets us look up a sprite. That's sort of why do we have so many uncommitted? Oh, it's because all the images. All right, let's add those real quick. Chore, add weapon icons. Hello? Icons. Here we go. All right, now we're down to 20. There's still way more things. I need to make a commit and haven't made one in a while, clearly. All right, so let's make some commits. Do you use restream or multi-stream? Let's look at what I have it called. It's called, the tab says multi-output, tools. I think I'm using multi-stream. It's a while since I installed the plugin and I don't see a quick, all right, so if we look at my, we go into the void here. Sorry, it's called multiple output. Yeah, one of my favorite things to, whoa, sorry. I get excited. I'm very distractible this morning. Daniel, thank you for distracting me. I'm having a good time. I haven't quite woken up yet. This one's really simple. I just click the start button and it starts streaming to both. I really like how simple it is. It's pretty simple to set up. I think it's called multiple output, but it might be multi-stream. Yeah, let's get a commit in here. I'm about to start working. I didn't do a commit last time because there was that sort of bug, and so we're gonna come in. We're gonna try and commit all the stuff we did last time. So we created an IJSONable interface. Chore, define IJSONable like that. And then our I requirement and weapon requirement, cancel. Those guys, beat weapon I requirement and weapon requirement. Serialize, implement serialization for I requirement. There we go. And then our equipment manifest. Ooh, yeah, we changed how our equipment manifests. Oh, there was a bug in our... Oh, I forgot about this. Our tester. That is cool. I like that. I like that. So Daniel's telling me Restream has a feature where all messages from YouTube will get carried to Twitch and Twitch messages to YouTube via the stream bot. I want that. I think that would be great to have. I'm definitely highly interested in that feature. Yeah, so we reworked our equipment manifest to accept a wearer, which isn't quite what we're gonna want in the end, I don't think. But maybe on before serialize. Weapon needed to have special serialization. Yes. So we're gonna add that. Beat implement serialization for weapon. What else did we do? Changed. All right, so we ended up changing our equipment manifest, adding equipment slots and our character equipment manifest. All right, so add those in. Feature or refactor, change, and then hang on. We got that means we got to update. This one wasn't in there yet. That one wasn't in there yet. But our test changed. All right, so this was a feature. Feat. We, oh no, this was a refactor. Equipment manifest equip accepts character. So we did that because it needs to sort of, we need to be able to tell it which character we're equipping it to rather than the manifest happening to know which character is wearing it. I think there's something not quite right there that needs to be considered, but like a logical standpoint, not a logical standpoint, from a programmatic standpoint, we can make it work. We just have to be careful about it. Inventory renderer. Inventory item renderer. And these all are new things. Yeah. We added some additional equipment slots and implemented. All right, so add. I think the rest of this is our inventory. Yeah, so the rest of this can get added. So this was a work in progress status screen. Add implements, drag and drop paper doll equipment. Manifest. Okay. So what I want to do today. All right, so we finally made it. We made it. We are trying to get our equipment manifest renderer. We need to make this render better. So by default, let's go back to our item. And our prefabs, what am I calling this? Equipment slot. Our equipment slot prefab. Oh no, a lot of people were using Streamlabs and then they started promoting NFTs. Oh boy, oh, I did not know that. Gee, so nice to see you. Happy Wednesday. I keep wanting to say happy Friday. It's far from Friday though, but happy Wednesday. It's nice to see you this morning. How are you doing? I know that you were having some stuff going on with your leg. Is that right? How's your leg doing? And if I'm wrong, please correct me. Well, happy Friday to you. Yeah. We want, by default, this is going to be disabled. Okay, and so our idea is in our equipment slot. When we put something into that, we need to be able to set the image as well as turn it on. Eder, let me know if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Eder over on YouTube. Good morning. It's good morning for me, but good afternoon, Eder. Welcome back. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard the captain's ship, as you might say. Although when I was thinking Captain Coder, I wasn't thinking like captain of a ship. I was thinking superhero captain, which is always interesting. I suppose you don't have to be the captain, a ship captain, to be a captain. But anyway, welcome aboard. and welcome back. I'm glad you're here. What am I? All right, so my equipment slot is gonna find the equipped image underneath it. So our equipment slot controller. Let's go to edit. And yeah, edit script. When this starts up, it needs to know about its image so that we can turn it on and off. We can set it. So so this is going to need a public void. And I can make this a property actually. Sprite. And really, it's not an image. It's not a getter setter. It's just a setter. Can I do that for now? Debug. No, I don't need a void here. Debug.log. Right. In opinion, Streamlabs just kind of sucks as a streaming tool compared to OBS. OBS is so nice. Eder, yeah, I did fix the bug from yesterday. I had to, so if you wanted to go back and rewatch it, but the short version is that my eye equipments, so in my weapon, this interface here wasn't serializing because Unity doesn't serialize interfaces. And so I have to add in, for serialization, I added in this list of strings and I take all of my I requirements, convert them to strings, and then serialize and deserialize them. So the bug was we're not saving the equipment requirements, but I got that working. Good question, Daniel. So the word serial, S-E-R-I-A-L, not cereal. No, we're not talking about cornflakes. We're not talking about cornflakes here. We are talking about serial. I believe the word serial just means number. Like but the idea is you take something and you turn it into a digital format. So this is a conceptual format here. But in program, when you talk about serializing, you're talking about how do I take this thing and save it so that way I can load it back later. So serialization is the process of taking something in your program that's in memory and running memory and turning it into data that can be stored on a computer or sent over a wire. And then deserialization is the reverse process. It's the inverse process of taking some saved file and turning it into, running something that's running inside your computer. And so the reason interfaces are harder to serialize is because they're not quote unquote an implementation. It's like an idea of a thing. And so we had to do some special work to make it work. No problem. I'm glad you asked. That's why we're here. Ask away. We're here to learn, grow, and get better. Including myself. I can learn and grow and get better every day. And this is streaming here. It keeps me honest in doing it and makes me feel good. Shh. I actually knew you meant not shh. That's funny. Yeah, it's a fancy word for reading and writing. Good point, G. That's all I really need to say. It's a fancy word for reading and writing. Typically, it's associated with automated. Typically, when you hear the word serialization, it's associated with like, oh, it's an automatic way for translating it, or a very straightforward way, but not always. Okay. All right, so this thing, my equipment slot controller, Rebecca Adam, hey buddy, happy Wednesday, welcome aboard. It's so nice to see you. I'm doing wonderful, Rebecca Adam. How are you? We are really this needs to be an equipment slot renderer. All right, so the thing that renders the image. All right, so I'm wrong here. We need to have an equipment slot render. I'm glad to hear you're good. I'm always happy to meet new people. But now I'm getting more and more curious, ever curiouser and curiouser on what my audience does. How did you find me? What brought you here? What interested you in coming? But welcome aboard. Yes, Thousand over on YouTube. It is a massive endeavor to make an RPG, and that's why I'm calling it a prototype. This is an RPG prototype. Ah, Rebecca, you follow me on Twitter. Gotcha. So you must have seen my tweet go out in that case. Equipment slot renderer. But yeah, 1,000, it's an absolutely massive. In essence, what I'm doing here is trying to make a prototype to understand the components necessary to make an RPG. So good. I'm not trying to claim that I'm gonna make an entire RPG, just the different components of an RPG. But yeah, welcome aboard. Rebecca, I do stream almost every day around this time, 5 a.m. Pacific time. Sorry, not 5 p.m. Phoenix time, 4 a.m. Pacific time, 7 a.m. Eastern time. This is going to be namespace adventurequest.ui. This is our render. Pinterest.ui or equipment.ui. God of War and Genshin? Is that how you pronounce that? I don't actually play a lot of games these days. This stream is actually a coding stream. It's a coding stream. So we are programming here. Most recently, I replayed Final Fantasy Tactics for PlayStation 1. That's the most recent game I played. I do want to play the new God of War. I loved the God of War that came out for PS4. I think it was just called God of War. But the new one I really want to check out. So our renderer here is essentially going to have a public void render, and it's going to take in an equipment slot, and it's going to determine how to render it. Yeah, boy, Daniel over on YouTube waving at us. Good morning. Happy to see you. Yeah, 1,000. It is open sourced. I think on YouTube it is linked there. I love Tactics. It's a little the beginning of the game is really good. It's a very challenging, strategy game. Rebecca, if you follow me on Twitter, I'll probably follow you back. But I'm not gonna do it right at this moment. I'm in the middle here, trying to do an equipment renderer. All right, so this thing is going to have on it, needs to have an image slot that it sets. Ah, yeah, boy, Daniel is Daniel over on Twitch. Good to see. So our equipment slot. So this is going to tell us we need to have some sort of equipment registry so that we know. It's an equipment slot as well as the item that we're going to equip there. Okay. That's what's missing here. So our render needs to accept these two things, a slot and an item to render. And this tells me that my item, we need a way to know how to render this thing. So what ID it does. Welcome back to Twitch, Daniel. Welcome back. To be able to render our sprite, I think it's time for me to introduce like an an iSpriteable thing. Rave, I didn't get a chance to check it. Oh, I did. I popped into your stream momentarily last night. I was but all-nighters are brutal. They can be. All-nighters can be brutal. I need an interface for things that have sprites associated with them. I think, or I can do the following. I can sort of say like an item needs to have sort of a UUID or something, so I know how to access it. But we are going to, for now, public string sprite ID. We'll call it an item sprite ID. Every sprite needs to have a sprite ID so we know how to look up how to render it. They can share the same sprite ID, but we need to be able to look up how to render it. I'm going to give a shout out to Rave, though. Rave here. If you're not following Rave on Twitch, you should be. You should be, because Rave has such... Thank you, Rebecca. Have a beautiful day. Rave has such an awesome stream where he's making a space trucking game. This looks like... I cannot wait for it to be, you know, in a state where you're doing beta testing or something. Maybe not beta test, but once it's out, I'm so excited for the game. It looks awesome. He's doing all of the 3D rendering. I feel like I'm learning a ton hanging out over on Rave's stream about rendering. It makes me want to learn 3D rendering stuff so much. It's awesome. It's so awesome. All right, so we just added this in. Each one of our underlying things here now is gonna break. Well, I hope those are tears of happiness, not of any. I'm sure they are. So our weapon needs to have a sprite ID associated with it. And so, 1,000, thank you so much for the subscribe over on YouTube. I do appreciate it. But yeah, I'm here almost every day, 5 a.m. Phoenix time, trying to do something. It's not always an RPG, but it's always something. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We can do multiple constructor conditions in C#. Yeah, you can. And in fact, this one is just a synonym for this one. So if you use Java, you put the colon afterwards and then just pass those arguments off like that. Yeah, so you can have multiple constructors. Another way to do it would just be to have a... yeah, it's really, really convenient. So basically here I have this default. Well, this is the default weapon requirement. You can specify a weapon that has a different set of requirements, but this is sort of the default. It's like, if I'm too lazy to do it, we can just do a default. Exactly. So this thing needs to have a new field in it. Field, Unity, Engine, Serialize field. And this one is gonna be a item sprite ID. Get private set. Take it easy, Daniel. Safe travels getting home. Thank you for popping in. I'm looking forward to catching you next time. As always, you're welcome back anytime. And now we need a way to actually assign this. So when this thing boots up, and so essentially I'm getting to a point where I'm needing my constructor for my weapon is getting so complex that I really don't want to have to construct it this way. And in fact, I think I already have a weapon builder, which is nice. Corpless, no worries. Welcome to lurk mode. And Akagara, let me know if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Akagara, or AKA Gara. I'm butchering it, I know. Thank you so much for the follow, but welcome aboard. We are working on an RPG prototype here. All right, so I need to be able to specify sort of this sprite thing here. Oh, it's Eder. Welcome across. Welcome across the boundary. The boundary between YouTube and Twitch is great, but welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. So in my weapons, I need to basically add in here a sprite ID. So we got name. I'm gonna put it as the second one here, string sprite ID. And this is gonna make everything really upset. It's gonna break all of my things. Sprite ID. And I do happen to have a weapon builder. All right, so if I go over to my weapon, weapons, that was interesting. Here, I have this builder that I need to add in now. Maxesses, ahoy! Yes, I do stream almost every day. It's a little easier to chat on Twitch, right? So I agree. I stream almost every day. And so, but my schedule is essentially Monday through Sunday. So every day, Sprite ID. And this, we're gonna set the Sprite ID here. Monday through Sunday, I'm just gonna start saying 7 a.m. Eastern, because saying 5 a.m. Phoenix time doesn't make sense to most people. 7 a.m. Eastern time, almost every day. And so now when we come in here, we're gonna pass in the Sprite ID. And what's nice about this is all of these guys here get constructed anyway, but actually I'm gonna enforce a Sprite ID. I could also give it a default Sprite ID if I wanted to here, if it's null. All right, so now we're gonna have to add in a Sprite ID to each one of these. We're gonna call this one Sprite ID dagger. So fun fact, now that I'm using a builder pattern here, the order of my arguments is not so important. I can swap these out in any way. So this is a nice little, this is what I would call a sort of pro tip for you. And if you're doing initializers, so one of the things is this is such a common pattern that C#, we don't have initializers in the version of C# that Unity is providing. Hang on here, this one's taking my Sprite ID. Item Sprite ID. Well, welcome to, thank you for subscribing on YouTube. Welcome aboard YouTube, Rave. Little builder pattern here lets us, when your constructor, when your data starts getting relatively complex like this one, so this is almost too much. I'm almost gonna break this out into smaller components already, to be able to handle this complexity. This file's, well, it's only 80 lines. It's not crazy long. But now I can come in here and I can set these. The other thing that's nice is it's easier to specify default values later if you'd like to. But we're gonna add in some Sprite ID, dagger, short sword, long sword, battle X. All right, and now I need some kind of like weapon database, weapon sprite database to be a battle A's. All right, go to battle X. And these are semi-magic variables, magic strings. So, but we're gonna come up with our database here. So we're gonna fix our, what's broken here. Okay, so this instead, weapons.dagger. And we'll do this one as weapons.shortsword. There we go. I'm breaking all my tests. Let's pull up our test inspector. There was a test that we broke that I need to figure out how to fix. I forgot. How do I get to my tests? I can never remember. Window. Where is testing? General test runner. I like having this over here. I broke a test in serialization, my character equality test. It's not working. Let's debug this real quick. I need to know what is not equal here. Yeah, I need to fix this before I move on, I think. Let's, we're gonna add that breakpoint. We're gonna attach the debugger. And we are gonna check it out. All right, booting up. Enable debugging. I'm really sad that at some point this test broke. I wish, and maybe there is, I needed to know whether or not there's a way to run these tests outside of Unity, in which case I could sort of set up when I go to commit, when I go to staging, set up a thing where it will automatically run them for me. So so we can check that error before it happens. So we're gonna run this. It's gonna stop here. And we're comparing character and identical character. So character happens to be this character, and character identical happens to be this one. All right, so can I show just those two? All right. And let's step into this equality check. And it's going to check all of these things. But now it's a little bit easier to see this versus OBJ. And we can see, okay, what am I checking? It is a player character. Gold should match. Name, Testy Testerson should match. Sprite keys, test portrait, those match. Abilities might not match. Let's go through the abilities here. Abilities, 28 minus 23. Abilities, 28 minus 28. That looks close. Let's look at inventory. I'm hoping to find something that looks really just off 3. Those look the same so far. I think it was related to when I modified my inventory. That's my guess. Or my equipment. Equipped. Ah, here we go. Here's something is happening with the equipment. On one of them, the equipment, they have something equipped in the right hand. They have a weapon in the right hand. On the other one, they don't have anything equipped. So something's going on there that we got to check. So a not so pro tip. Let's go, Kevin, run this. Not so pro tip. Use your debugger. Sometimes print line debugging can be useful for quick things, but I have no idea what's different between these two. And now I know that character happens to have an item in their right hand. But, check it out. This was the bug I introduced. Right there. I need to equip it on that character like that. So I think this is indicative of, this is why I was saying adding this here was a little bit, maybe too quick of a change. All right, because now I can accidentally equip the wrong thing. So it's not that it's that I actually didn't update my test properly. Okay, because there's sort of this tight coupling with this equipment here of who it's equipped to. So I think what I might do is add in a wrapper. I'm gonna add this to my to-dos. I still need to fix the the coding logic is fine, but I need to fix the conceptual way I think about the equipment manifest here. So let's open up our to-do. And really it is part of this list of this ever-growing list. Is what I always say when you're programming. And in life in general, for me, it seems, I have an ever-growing to-do list that just gets longer and longer, never-ending. You cross things, for every item you cross off, you add 5 new items. I wonder, does that happen to anyone else? Is it just me? Is it just me making more work for myself? So I made it. Yeah, so I need to add in, and this numbering system's not quite what I want either. I'm a little grumpy that now the markdown tool's not loading properly. There it goes. Now the numbering's working. All right. So, equipment manifests. Oh, it's number 2 here. Consider equipment manifest becoming equipment and removing character argument. This wasn't quite right. The equipment manifest should not take a character, or the character equipment manifest should not take a character. Should just have the character attached. Too easy to equip using another character's that. So so funny, Faz, is it Faz? Let me know if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Fazan over on YouTube says, ever wonder about becoming a teacher? You seem good at explaining things. I am a teacher. I teach computer science. The whole point of me streaming here is because I want to be able to point my students to this and say, hey, check it out. New students are often very frustrated. They're often very frustrated about a project coming in and go like, how do you come up with this? How do I know to start? What am I supposed to do? What am I, how do I get from point A to point B? And so the whole reason I stream the whole reason I started streaming was so I could say, hey, go watch these videos. Go watch these videos of me programming. And I don't just know what to do from the get-go. I don't just know what to do from the get-go. It's a process. Trees getting larger and then one day they get smaller. Yeah, AOC, G, that's exactly right. It's like the advent of code problems. Okay, so we have that going. Let's remove this breakpoint. Let's remove this breakpoint. Did we fix our tests? You gotta write unit tests so that you catch yourself like that. All right, our tests passing again. Happy day. Broke that. I would have never known I had broken something had I not had that test in there. Or I would have discovered it way later. All right, so... distractions. Where were we? Equipment manifests renderer. That's right. So our weapons now have this ID. We need to now have a item sprite database. So this is so let's go look at how I did it for our portraits. So our portraits have one as well. So is it just called portraits? Yeah, so my portraits here, I have this, I should probably call this portraits database. Character portrait database is what I should call it. I have a thing called the sprite database. So the character portrait database has a sprite database where we basically have key value pairs. So you have keys, which are your sprite ID followed by the actual sprite that you're going to load into there. So we need to be able to do that. And this is sort of a, I don't know if I'd call it incredibly hacky way to do it, but you might be pulling these from a database somewhere. The idea is this database, we can change it as we go later and not have to adjust anything. But our data model is different from our render model. So we're trying to follow model view controller pattern. Let us make this same thing. So in our character, we have this portrait database. I'm going to copy that into my equipment and I'm going to create an item sprite database. And rather than having these in here like this becomes each of my sprites here. So the sprites that I want happening. So I need one for dagger. I need one for short sword. And this is why at some point these kind of become stringly typed. And I'm not, there's probably a better way to do this. I could create sort of but we need a way at some point to go from, okay, well, my weapon object, my actual weapon implementation doesn't have a sprite on it. It needs a way to go look up a sprite. And so that's sort of what we've done here with this sprite ID. All right, so they are semi-magic strings, but they're strings that connect to the database if you wanted to swap out the ID. And ideally, we'd have like some editor at some point that lets us build up this database. And then this weapons, rather than having this here, it'd be like pulling them from some resource on the computer. So we're slowly building this up here. But let's go to the sprites. Let's attach our sprites in here. We have weapon sprites. Let us find some things that we want here. So dagger. I kind of like dagger 3. Well, it's just a cheap dagger, so we'll go with cheap icon dagger 1. Let's go with short sword. The other thing is oh, there's no short sword. Let's go with sword. The other thing is items themselves could share sprites. That's another thing. Items themselves could share sprites. So it's possible that I might have two different short swords that have the same image. Database, item sprite database. Let's lock the inspector real quick. So when I click these, it doesn't sort of, what do I want for my short sword? I think I'm gonna go with this. I don't particularly think any of these are amazing, but we'll use this for my short sword. And then we have a different one for long sword. We'll go with this fella here, long sword. And then our axe. This can be our battle axe. Okay, so we have our different icons in there. So we've set up our sprite database. Now our equipment renderer needs to have the sprite database sort of attached to it so that we can use the sprite database with it. So let's come back to our prefab. For our equipment manifest. So the question becomes, let's come back. We have the equipment slot renderer. Our equipment slot renderer needs to be able to get the actual sprite at the end of the day. And let's look real quick at our sprite database. Pretty easy. Our sprite database works in the following way. It has an interface that basically has a get, where you can give it the key or an integer and get back that sprite entry. And the sprite entry happens to have, let's go look at sprite entry. Sprite entry is a name to a sprite. So that's it for sprite entry. So we have a way to look these up. So in our equipment renderer now, we need a sprite rendering. There were explicit short sword icons, icon short sword. Oh, I just missed it. Sword. Oh, I just didn't read it. Thank you. Oh, I didn't mean to do Control P. Let's let that. Apparently Control P. I learned something new. Control P. It plays it. Oh no. Why'd my screen get all wonky? I'm in free aspect. All right, let's change back to 16:9. That's interesting. That shouldn't matter. So apparently, my inventory here, in concision. Thank you so much for pointing that out. I missed it. I appreciate that very, very much. I'm gonna fix that real quick. This pivot here. So another thing. Again, a not so pro tip. Working with UI stuff is painful, but Unity does have some tools to try and make it less painful. In free aspect, I often will just force it to a resolution, so I miss things like this. But in free aspect, notice as my screen resizes here, my abilities don't move, but my character inventory does. And this is because it's not attached to the pivot here in the top. So I'm going to select my character inventory here, and I'm going to adjust its pivot. I can set where I want the pivot to be. If I hold down shift, notice the little blue dot that shows up. That's saying I'm about to set the pivot. So if I hold down shift, I set the pivot to be the top right corner. So as my screen size changes, my pivot will still move with that. And so now it's sort of locked here, and I want it to be -50 and -50. So it's 50 pixels from the top, 50 pixels from the right. Now, if my aspect changes, it doesn't move. It stays that distance from the side, and it knows how to scale itself. So I've made it a scalable type object. But we're gonna go back to 1920, full HD, or 16:9, 16:9. 1000 over on YouTube asked, where did you get the assets for the game? Great question. I did not make them myself. When I'm prototyping, and in general, I'm using this website, OpenGameMart.org. So OpenGameMart.org people can submit art that they've created, and this specific set of art happens to be licensable under Creative Commons 3 and GPL 3. So I can use any of these licenses I want. If I want to use it as a GPL, I can. If I want to use it as one of these Creative Commons, I can. And one of the things I absolutely love, this is great for game jams where you have to credit your stuff, and you should always credit your stuff. I add it to the collection I'm using. So this is, I've added it to my, or it's already in that collection. Let's go to my collections real quick. 2D dungeon crawl. What I love about it is I can say, okay, well, these are the assets I'm using. Download credits file. All right. And this is going to generate a text file for me that I can just pop in as my credits. It has all of the authors and stuff based on how they've said they would like to be credited. So I absolutely love this website in that regard. So those assets I made that way, and then these portraits are AI generated. So I generated a lot of the assets using DALL-E. Lots of distractions here. I didn't mean it. So I keep hitting Control P because Control P is how you search in VS Code. And so Control P is how you launch the game here. But really what I want to do is I wanted to search for my database. I wanted my item sprite database because I wanted to change my short sword. Thank you. Beautiful short sword. And that one is a long sword. I got it. Beautiful. All right, so we have that now. So once again, in Concision, if I'm pronouncing it, let me know. But thank you so much for pointing it out. I appreciate it. We are in our renderer. Okay, so our renderer. Thank you so much for the follow, Abdel Karimer. Let me know. I definitely killed the pronunciation on that, but Abdel. Let me know if I'm pronouncing it or not. Is it okay if I call you Abdel? As always, you're welcome to be a lurker. But I love when people ask questions. I hugely love when people ask questions. I'm here to teach. That's my whole shtick, if you will, is I'm a teacher. So here we go. To be able to get the sprite, there's a couple things our sprite renderer needs. It needs to know where it's going to render. So if we look at our sprite renderer prefab. So let's get our sprite renderer prefab here. This is not sprite renderer, this is the equipment slot. So we have our equipment slot prefab. It has this equipped image down here. And it is going to need to know, so there's a couple things I can do. I can actually potentially just make it take in the item to render. So I might not need the slot. So the equipment shouldn't, so here's the thing, it shouldn't take in the slot because the equipment slot just already knows itself. Instead, it's gonna take in the item to render. All right, so it takes in the item to render. And then this thing needs a reference to a sprite database. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a public, needs to know where to find it. So one option, yeah, here we go. So public sprite database, sprite item database. We're actually gonna make this private. We'll make it a property. And we'll serialize it so we can set it in the inspector. Like this. And then we gotta import it. Oh, cannot do that. It's private, so I should actually not make it. Typically, fields. All right. We're making it a private field. Typically, if you're private, you shouldn't be a property. The generic idea of a property is that is what you're exposing to the world. Though there's a few exceptions to that under the hood. But typically, if you're private, it should be a field. If you're public, it should be a property. General rule of thumb. I don't know, rule of thumb's not the right thing, but a general rule, a general good practice to follow. And so there are exceptions to that, but that's the general rule. So my equipment slot here. So we have an equipment slot renderer. So as an equipment slot controller, and also going to have an equipment slot renderer. And it is going to have in its database here, the item database, like this. So we attach the item database to it. And the idea is when we go to render this thing, we need to know which image to modify. So we're also going to attach this image down here to it. All right, so we need an image. So we're going to do field, serialize field. This is part of Unity's UI. So private image. So this is what we're going to update. Unity UI. So this is the image we're going to modify when we render. There's another one, so we also need to be able to declare it, but rendering it does the following. All right, so it's disabled by default. So we're going to attach our image here. So we have our equipped image, and now since we have references to those things, we can do the following. We can say, first I'm going to debug.assert that our item database is not equal to null. And if it is, we're going to say item database. So Sprite database was not initialized, like that. So let me rename this. I think a better name would be, yikes, Sprite database. And then we'll do one more assert, debug.assert image not equal to null. And in this case, I guess I don't need to have an interpolated string. Image was not initialized. All right, so if we don't have those two things, we basically want to fail here if those two things are not true. Next, we're going to say Sprite database dot get, and it's the item's Sprite ID. So we're going to be able to pull out the entry. So this is going to be our Sprite entry. Entry. And we're going to want to update our image. So our image.sprite becomes the entry here. So our entry has a sprite in it. And then this game object, we want to set active true. All right, so this is what we'll do when we equip something. The quote unquote render for an item is to get the sprite associated with it and render it. And hopefully the ID for this thing exists. We might have a thing in here that sort of has a default, but we're not going to worry about that for now. Okay. Whew. So our equipment controller and our equipment renderer for this thing, the Sprite database, I got to add that back in. There we go. So we have our Sprite database. So the cool thing is, let's say you create an upgrade. So you're DLCing or something, you know, oh, well, I want to change all my Sprite images. Boom, one place to do it. Or you say, okay, well, we're doing the equipment renderer right now. And they, when you're equipping them on the equipment manager, they look one way, but you can also have a separate subdatabase. So it's like combat Sprite database. And that one has a different set of images that appears depending on the context, and you can just swap that out here. So nice little trick that you might have. Okay, so I think we have our equipment slot renderer working. Chicka wow wow, happy Wednesday. I keep wanting to say happy Friday. It's going well. We're getting close here to having this, but now notice, since I was using a prefab, how are you, Chicka wow wow? Welcome back and welcome aboard. So one thing to notice is, because I was using a prefab on all of these all now have the item renderer associated with it. And what I can do is, in my equipment manifest controller, when things get equipped, I can sort of pass off how they should be rendered. So I don't even know if I need my equipment manifest renderer. I might. Let's take a look at my equipment manifest controller. Thousand, this is totally a prototype. So this is me building as I go. I haven't, this is like day 10 or something along that. So I apologize, Thousand over on YouTube is asking. Turns out I need more time to help after looking at your repo. Perhaps you can update your README to make me understand it better. That's a good question. So what I will say is I'll direct you to have a better understanding of what's going on. I'm turning this project. So this project I'm doing is a prototype to be able to understand how to make an RPG so I can turn it into a class project. If you want to understand it from the beginning, check out adventurequest.captaincoder.org, and this sort of helps build up and understand the different components as we go. And it's incomplete, but I'd love your feedback on it. But the dice roller and character creator section are sort of the main focus there. So feel free to check it out. I'll post adventurequest.captaincoder.org, and then to give me feedback, I highly recommend. I'm more likely to get your feedback if you hop on the Discord and give me some feedback there. All right, but we're gonna continue in here. No worry, Fauzan. Happy to have you aboard and checking things out and helping me. Super cool. So we have our equipment manifest renderer. All right, so this thing needs to know how to render an equipment manifest, right? And so it's going to be made up of things somehow. No worries. If you don't want to join, no biggie. That is a good place to communicate with me and give me feedback. Equipment manifest controller. So the controller selected slot. Yes, this controller needs to have an on equip, which tells it where something was equipped. All right, so we're gonna have here, our controller is aware of how to equip things. In Concision, that's right. So Unity provides us sort of this ability to do component stuff. And so in the code, it's private, but it uses serialization to let you set those values. Good question. Yes, so Unity lets us set them, drag and drop set them that way, which is nice when you're wanting to deal with, quote unquote, singleton prefabs. Can drop them in there. Another way I often do it is using events to sort of pass data around when things happen. Corfless giving us an update on their progress. Thank you, Corfless. Let's see, public Unity event, and this event happens to be the item that is being rendered, as well as the equipment slot. Okay. So this is going to be on equip. So we're going to send out an event. We're going to send out an event when the equip happens. All right. And so we're going to serialize this as well. So anyone can register. When something gets equipped, we can register on that event. And then down here in our actual equip, we send out that notification. So when an equip is successful, all right, so if success, if we're actually able to equip something, we'll do onEquip.invoke, and we happened to equip this item that was passed into our equip method, and we happen to equip it to the currently selected slot. So we can sort of invoke this, and so now anyone that's listening, so this tells me my equipment manifest renderer needs to have a method that looks like this, that takes in an item and a slot, and when it gets equipped, we pass that down to the manifest renderer, and it passes it off to the correct equipment slot. Okay, so our equipment manifest renderer needs to have it's going to have a mapping to equipment slot renderers. Okay, so when it needs to have the equipment slot renderer. So private list list almost should be a dictionary. All right, so I think I want it to be a dictionary. Let's put these collections back in here. I deleted those because they were grayed out. But my equipment manifest private dictionary from equipment slot to equipment slot renderers. So this is sort of our renderer lookup, something like that. So we'll import that and our renderer. This needs to be in the same namespace as that. So this should be namespace adventurequest.equipment.ui. So we're gonna have this, we'll have to build this up by finding all of the renderers with us. And so I actually think this should probably be on the equipment manifest up here, or should be sort of, you know, so this, I actually want, I think it needs to be equipment manifest renderer here. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of the whole renderer chunk there. And so we have this equipment manifest renderer. And when this thing wakes up, we're gonna initialize it, void awake. So when the scene starts, when this comes into existence, it's gonna go through and it's gonna find all of the renderers here as its children. So we're gonna do the following. You can use get components to do this. This is a relatively expensive operation. Equipment slot render. So when we say get components in children, this method is gonna return to us an array slot. All right. So this essentially searches all of the components that are inside of this, and I believe it searches all of the sub components as well. So if you have a giant tree structure here, this is extra slow. You should do this as little as possible, and usually on awake is a good spot to do this, because on awake happens once. You know, some people you might put it on an enable or disable, but the idea is you want to have this happen once, and it initializes this dictionary for us. So our renderer look is going to be a new dictionary. And we're going to loop through each of the equipment slots here. All right. Slot in slots. And we are going to add that into our dictionary. So in this case, we'll do renderer lookup slot dot slot. Is slot.slot is equal to slot. Okay. Oh, this should be equipment. Sorry, this needs to be an equipment slot renderer. And so the renderer needs to know, okay, so it needs to know the slot that it's rendering. Okay, that makes sense. So field, serialized field, private equipment slot. And we might say that this thing is required to have a controller with it, because now we're duplicating this. This will be a public as well. Let's make this a property. Public slot get private set. Properties should come after. So it should go fields, constructors, properties, methods. So we put that next. That's just a good habit to have. Again, a not so pro tip. So now we find that. So now I got to come in here. So here's what I don't like about this. I'm repeating work. So I have what's called a code. In this case, not a code smell. It's a little bit of a code smell. But notice my equipment controller has a slot, and so does my equipment slot renderer has a slot. Now I'm having to duplicate these, but we're in essence, these should match. These two things should match And so I kind of don't like that. And so what I'm going to say is my equipment slot renderer. So my equipment slot renderer, I don't like this duplication here. They should all, so the rule in my mind is these should always be the same. And so we're going to manage that complexity through code. So my equipment slot renderer, I'm going to get rid of this. All right, I know I just added in, but I'm going to get rid of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that if you have something that has an equipment slot renderer on it, it's also required to have an equipment slot controller. We're going to say these two things go together. You can have an equipment slot controller without a renderer, but a renderer, you have to have a controller because it needs to know what slot it is using. So my controller here, and I gotta, come on, give me my equipment slot controller. Equipment slot controller. What names was Adventure Quest and equipment? Shouldn't it find that? Let's try loading this. Ah, Rave, I always do that. I always do that. Type of. Yeah. So this is an attribute. It doesn't really have access to that class thing there. Rave, my friend, thank you. I would have gotten there. I promise. Promise I would have gotten there. So now we can say when this thing wakes up, we can make that a private now. It doesn't even need to be we're gonna do a private. Nice, I like that emoji. Private equipment slot like this. So it's gonna have a slot associated with it. Oh, I still need to be able to get this off of here. Hang on, public. So I deleted this prematurely. So I had a premature deletion, premature refactorization, this should be equipment. So it still has this property. It still has this property. It just so happens, slot. It just so happens that it is going to be based on the equipment slot controller. So one way I could do this would be to do get component equipment slot controller dot hang on. I don't know why it's not. Do I have to do game object dot get? Game object dot get slot. Compile. Block bodies. Oh yeah. This one should just be a get. There's no setter on it. And in fact, because it's just a get. All right, I'm letting myself get crazy here. This syntax turns this whole thing into a getter. It says just go get it off the other component. If I was going to be doing this a bunch, I would want to lazy load this. But when you're getting a single component, it's actually pretty quick. It's not too slow. You wouldn't want to do this every frame, but I'm only essentially doing it during initialization. So this is sort of a property that's sort of saying go get the thing on the equipment slot controller. So now these are sort of coupled together. So now I don't have to change in my prefab. I don't have to go through and add that in there again. It just sort of, it has a render on it. It knows it has it. It has it. So we're good. Next, what do we need? We want, one moment. My brain's clicking. I hit a speed bump. My brain has to catch up. Does anyone's else brain do that where you're going and suddenly you reach the end of whatever thought you're on and your brain goes, okay, wait a minute, I gotta catch up to where I was. What the heck was I doing? It's like going through a doorway. It's like going through a doorway, you forgot what you were doing. We just went through a coding doorway. Yes, so my equipment manifest renderer. My equipment manifest render is where we are. Your ADHD does that all the time anyway. So you get used to it then. Okay, so we're just trying to get this to work in that way. So we have this equipment manifest renderer, And now our equipment manifest needs to know how to render itself. All right, so the equipment manifest has a public void. Honestly, I'm not sure that this needs to have a render new manifest. Instead, I want to, yeah. So we're gonna have a public void render, the manifest renderer. We couldn't have it taken the whole thing, but I'm gonna, the whole point of this is I had in my equipment controller, my equipment manifest controller, I have this event on equip. So I have this event that lets me propagate that out. So the idea is that I need to match this event structure. So we're going to take in the item and the slot. Okay. So the idea now is I'm going to look up in my renderer. I'm going to say, oh, let's go get that slot. And then that knows how to render an item in that specific slot. So we sort of propagate that down to our children. So we propagate it down to our children. And I also should have a overall render as well. It says, okay, when I initially node, go ahead and initialize all these things. Smab, my friend, I love that robot emoji. Happy Wednesday, my friend. Welcome back. Welcome aboard. It's so nice to see you. How have you been? Tell me, how have you been? How are you doing? How are your coding adventures going? Okay. So now I should be able to attach to my onEquip. Yeah, so I'm also gonna say that my equipment manifest renderer is going to require that we have an equipment manifest controller type of doing some experience with Spectra console at the moment. I have no idea what that is, but I would love to know more. Tell me more. What is Spectra console? Spectra console. Spectre.console? Ooh. ANSI console features. Very cool. Yeah, I had looked at this. Looks awesome. I actually had seen this before. So in my my intro to C# class, I would like to do more fun stuff. I actually want to write a I have so many things I want to do. I want to write a console game engine, a console-esque game engine that does similar things to like how Unity or Godot work, other game engines, but use this as sort of like the renderer. I think that would be super fun. Cool. I look forward to seeing and hearing about what you make with it, because this just looks too awesome. Too awesome to be real. All right, so this thing has an equipment manifest controller. And when we wake up, we're gonna go get that. All right, so we know that we have one. So then we're gonna say get component equipment manifest controller. We're gonna register ourselves on it. So equipment manifest controller. Like this. And the controller has an onEquip. And we're gonna say that, okay, when that event fires, when an equip happens, we want to call our render method. So we've registered ourselves on the onEquip listener. It says when something gets equipped, render ourselves. So I think we've gone through and done a bunch here. It might work. It might work. I suspect it will not, because the items that have been serialized don't have sprite IDs on them. So it's a little, I'm 90% sure that I'm gonna have to update my weapon here. All right, so weapon this didn't exist when that element was serialized, so I sort of need to come through and say, okay, well, if it's not there, it's going to be a little bit tricky to see here, but I'm 90% sure this is going to give us an exception, and I'm going to have to rebuild the character's inventory. All right, so if I go to do a dagger, it's going to yell at me, say, hey, the key's missing yet. Wasn't able to find that key. And if we were to go into our debugger, is our debugger, do we have state here? We don't have state. All right, but real quick, let's go down to, in our Sprite Database, line 34. 90% sure what's happening is this key's coming in, it doesn't have the image because it's using the dagger that was stored in the character's equipment or a character's inventory, and that just added a new field. So this is interesting. This tells me, I think this tells me that I need to, well, add this to our to-do. So what is happening? Our character is serialized. So if we open our player character, our character is serialized. Our character has an inventory and an equipment manifest. And those two things serialize as well. All right, so then the inventory, when it serializes the weapons and everything in there. And so the player had a weapon prior to adding in the sprite ID. So the serialized version of it doesn't have a sprite associated with it. So we kind of, you know, there's this slight break here, whereas when we serialize the weapon, we might want to actually serialize like the idea of the weapon. Or we have some, so this is something we'll go back several days ago. I was thinking like, well, I might need what's called, you know, a weapon instance. So you have like a weapon, which is sort of like the definition of weapon, then you have a weapon instance. And we went with sort of the not so great version, apparently. So I've sort of programmed this in a way that now my versioning, I just need to go through and set these things. So something I could do is in my character controller here. No worries. No worries, G. Enjoy your lunch. Enjoy your lunch. Our character inspector here. I'm curious if I can. Anyway, I need to give my character. I need to sort of. There's a little hack I gotta do here, where I give my character. So let's go to our character controller. This is what I'm gonna do. In my character controller, I'm gonna write a hack. Character controller. I am so in concision. Great point. I do have it in my constructor. Oh, I don't. Thank you. Right. This won't matter though. It turns out that this isn't gonna matter. It still won't work because Unity doesn't use reflection to initialize this. It'll still break. It still won't be there. It's hard to see. Well, let's try it. I'm 90% sure this won't matter because the serialized version, if we were to go look at that JSON, it's still going to tell me that there's nothing there. The value's still null. It's because, thank you for pointing out my bug. I appreciate that. I am not doing it in the constructor, but Unity does a weird serialization where it doesn't call your constructor. I'm 90% sure it's doing bytecode injection where it's constructing an object and then like filling in holes, saying like, oh, I know it's supposed to have this stuff. So I think it's doing it without using reflection. So it doesn't actually have to call the constructor, get an instance of this thing. It's kind of fascinating the way it does it. But my character controller, what I was going to do is I'm going to do a little hack here. I'm going to add in a public bool reinitialize character. So we're going to have a little flag here that in our inspector we can turn it on or off. If we need our character, if there's something wrong with our character, we can click this on or off, and it will allow us to, on start, we'll load the character and then we'll call some extra code. Protected void reinitialize character private. So this is going to sort of change all the values. So we're going to say, after we've loaded it, if get rid of this return. If reinitialize character, that's bad. I shouldn't these call this reinitialize. So if reinitialize is set, then we're gonna call reinitialize character. And reinitialize character is gonna sort of make sure that we reconstruct. We're gonna basically set the character's inventory in gold to the original value. Observable dot observed dot gold. We'll give them 50 gold. Observable dot observed dot inventory equals new. Oh, we can't set that. Fascinating. I need to remove everything. Yeah, we need to go through and remove all the items and add new items. But ideally, so I'm gonna add weapons dot dagger here. Had to, my brain had to catch up here. All right. Our inventory is gonna need a clear option. Public void clear. So clear is going to take everything out of the inventory. And inventory. Comes after remove. All right, so public void clear. This empties out the inventory, so it's going to be items equal items dot clear, and then on change dot invoke, and then we notify when, hey, our inventory is now empty. Okay, so we have a clear. So in our character controller, we can now clear it. All right, so the idea is when we reinitialize character, we can clear their inventory. We're gonna add a dagger back to it. Let's add a dagger and a longsword so we can check these two things out. But this sort of gives me sort of like an escape hatch in here where I can jam things into this inventory. To make sure it's working, I'm gonna do this. And we're going to do the same thing for the equipment, but right now the equipment manifests should be empty, but now I'm making assumptions. Oh, I didn't check my box on, hang on. So in my scene, I can say, okay, force a reinitialize. And so I should only have a dagger now. Yeah, so it sort of cleared out the inventory. It set my gold to 50. Let's give it a dagger and a longsword so we can play with that. But yeah, this is my escape hatch. And I just got to remember to turn that off. Yeah, I don't like it because now I have to remember to turn it on or off. Yeah. All right. Hey! We've got a dagger equipped. All right. Woo! That was a lot. of work there. Okay. That is satisfying. I don't know if anyone else found that satisfying. And we can't multi-equip, so it'll tell us, hey, you can't equip there. But if I were to restart, so the next thing I need to do is be able to unequip things. So I need to be able to unequip or like swap things out. But now if I try to equip my longsword, boom, get the longsword. All right. All right. Yes, Smab, stabbing himself with the dagger. Good. You know, you should hold it from the other end, right? But then if I hold it from the, so Smab, you're correct. I probably need to, all right. So we just got to make sure we equip it in the left hand then. Perfect. Excellent point. All right. I'm really happy with where we are right here. Let's save. But to recap, before we save, let's commit because that's pretty awesome. But to recap how this works, so I've built in a system here. I have an equipment manifest. All right, so let's go look at the equipment manifest. We're gonna nope, wrong spot. Equipment manifest. All right, so the idea is my equipment manifest prefab looks like this. When I have a renderer and a controller. Yeah, so I have a renderer and a controller. The controller interacts with the interface of the manifest, and in fact, it's not connected to that yet. But the idea is when we interact with this thing, it talks to the renderer. So I've separated that logic out. So I have a controller that lets me inform people when stuff happens, and then I have a renderer that knows how to draw it. So ideally I could swap out that renderer, so I have an equipment manifest renderer here. But let's say I have, you know, in combat, maybe my character looks different. My manifest renderer might actually render slightly differently, or I change this avatar or something. I can swap out that render if I want to. So I've separated the logic for rendering and controlling, and the renderer relies on this event to know when things are equipped. Similar, right? If we go down a step into, so we have our equipment manifest, and then the same thing, we've followed that pattern again. We've got the model, view, and controller. We've followed that pattern again down under here, where we have an equipment slot controller. The controller knows when it's been selected or deselected. So this is sort of when you hover over it, dragging something. This is how we're doing the drag and drop. When we have an item selected and we're hovering, it gets selected. And this informs the manifest when we let go what to do. But additionally, I have the renderer, right? So I've separated the logic between the controller and the renderer. All right. Although part of me is feeling like maybe this is all sort of one thing, because an equipment slot doesn't have any sort of real functionality. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about that, but the control, it's sort of like the equipment slot renderer controller. Okay, so that's sort of what we've done here in the last hour or so. I'm going to do some commits here and break up my logic, see if I can find some logical commits here. If you're not so pro tip, you should be you should be using a version control system. I use Git. I love Git. Git's good. But you should be using a version control system to manage your code, manage your changes, so you can go back and forth if you need to. But we're going to do a commit here, and then we're approaching 2 hours. I think we've gone a little over 2 hours because the stream had a little technical difficulties. But I'm almost ready for my second coffee. Got a little bit in here, but it's cold. It's about time for my second coffee. We're gonna do coffee. We're gonna do a stretch break, get some coffee, and I hope everyone will join me in stretching when I do that. But let's see, what did I do? I added a clear to my inventory. So this is one thing that I added, and then I also put it in my inventory here. All right, so breaking this up into logical chunks, my inventory here. So this was a feature, implement clear, implement inventory.clear. All right, so that was a thing I added. Broke that into logical chunks. I added a sprite ID here. I'm not sure if I need to do that all there. So we got a sprite ID here, here, here. Yeah, so in my items, those are related. So this is going to be a feature as well. Feature, I implement item dot sprite ID. So these commits are, I'm trying to keep them logical trunks, and I don't always succeed on this, but this makes it so if I go in my history, I say like, well, what changed? What did I change? I fixed a test. So this one should be added in there. My manifest test and my player character test. So we're gonna go in here. Update, so this is a chore. Update tests to match new interface. All right, we had the character controller. We added sort of this reinitialize escape hatch. Added the unequip. All right, so this is sort of these are unrelated to the rendering stuff I was doing. All right, so feat add, or this is really not quite a feat, but add reinitialize flag on character controller. Okay, and I think the rest of this is specifically the manifest. So let's go in here, make sure that our formatting and whatnot is, and whatnot is all right. Just a quick glance at these to make sure there's nothing in here that looks insane. Unity Coder, great question. I've looked into them. They don't work with WebGL, and the project here I need to work. Need is a strong word. In my Unity class, I'm teaching an intro to Unity class. I want all of the students' projects to be able to be deployed via WebGL. Scriptable objects, from what I understand, do not work with WebGL. So I have chosen not to use them and instead learned how to use Unity's serialization more effectively. But yes, I think scriptable objects solve a lot of these problems. So if you don't need to be on WebGL build, you could use scriptable objects. Oh no, I just clicked on that. But yeah, so now we have our equipment manifest here. So we're gonna add these changes in. Moon is welcome back. First time chat, that's interesting. I know that you've been here before, or maybe I've been to your chat. Anyone who doesn't know, Moon is a game developer, was doing some Ludum Dare stuff. So if you are not following Moonniz, you should be. Go check out Moonniz's stuff. They're essentially I think they're a real game developer. I'm not a real game developer. I am, I don't want to say I'm a hack, but I'm learning. I'm learning. All right, so now this is a feature. Implement equipment manifest renderer. There we go. So this was our equipment manifest render. So now we have this working. Kind of. There's some features here that aren't quite right, but we have our yeah, it's not great for real-time storage. That's essentially what I've understood is you can hack it a little bit, right? There's a little bit of hackiness. All right, so now I need to be able to unequip. So I can equip stuff, and then if I want to unequip, I have to pause and rerun to be able to do it. But weapons can be equipped in either hand, but we have no way to unequip it. All right, so we can equip weapons in either hand. You can't have two weapons equipped, and the equipment manifest sort of says, hey, we cannot, it already thinks you have a weapon equipped. And so if we were to put this here, really what we need to do, really what I want to do is I want to make it so that it's either in your equipment or your inventory. So when you equip something, it should come out of your inventory and then you can drag it back. What I want to do is be able to have it so you can click this and drag it back into your inventory. So we're gonna work on unequipped next, I believe. But let's first. Okay, I'm a liar. If I look at my sign on, all right, we added equipment sprites, boom, got it. Add equipment manifest render, got it. My bonus here, and this is a good bonus, I think, is add chest piece, legs, head, and feet. I might change that. Let's see here. Do I want to change my bonus? My renderer is done. Really, I need to implement my equipment manifest controller needs to support unequipping. That's really what I need to add here. All right, we're gonna think about it. I am gonna take a quick break. Daniel, welcome back. I don't know if welcome back, but nice to have you back. I hope your travels were safe. Daniel, I'm back. Just kidding. No worries. Take your time rebooting. I'm gonna go on a quick, hopefully quick coffee break. And again, I'm out of water, or almost out of water. Gotta stay hydrated. I'm almost out of coffee. So I'm gonna recommend everyone try and stay hydrated. I'm gonna come back. Get yourself ready to stretch with me if you're in a good spot to do so. Stretching is so good for you. Keep that blood flowing. But I'm gonna get some coffee. I'm gonna be back, but super happy with where we're at here. All right, so stay tuned. I'll be right back. All right, we are back. Moonez, I usually put a bit of coffee in my morning cup of sugar. I'm the opposite. I love black coffee. I don't put sugar or cream. Typically don't put sugar or cream in my coffee. Sometimes I do. Not today, but typically not. I enjoy a nice dark coffee. I love the bitterness. So good. in my mind. And I usually like coffee that like has like a little hint of something. Today I don't. I'm out of coffee. I'm out of good coffee. Someone gave me some Starbucks coffee as a gift. So I'm in my reserve here, and I don't. It gets by in a pinch. Let's say that Starbucks gets by in a pinch. For me, Starbucks coffee tastes charred. I might say it tastes like it's been like roasted too long. But hopefully my new coffee arrives today. I ordered some. Corflish recommended some coffee to me on my Discord. What was it? Gotta remember. I can't remember. I haven't had it yet, so I can never remember the name. But in my recommendations, let's see. What was it? Corflish recommended Death Wishes coffee. So I ordered some Death Wish coffee. So I'm looking forward to that. Report direction done. Report is much more solid now. Congratulations, Corflish. Congratulations, Corflish. So I'm gonna stretch real quick. I've been doing these brutal workouts. My legs are killing me. We had a leg day. What's interesting, we had a leg day on Monday. Yesterday my legs seemed mostly fine, but today they're aching me. Yesterday was sort of an upper body core, not upper body, but more of a core workout, and that doesn't hurt, but I'm sure tomorrow it will. So I'm gonna be doing some stretching here for the next 2 minutes. I'm gonna encourage, if you're here watching, if you're sitting at a computer all day, it's rough on your body to do that. Why don't you take a moment now? Take a moment, join me in a nice stretch. If you're at work, get up and stretch anyway. If some people look at you and say like, well, you're the one not stretching. You're the one destroying your body by not stretching. And you should get your coworkers to join you in a nice stretch too. So we're gonna do a nice stretch here. Oh, that's good. I'm doing a quad stretch right now, or I don't know what this stretch would be called, but stretching my quad. Oh, I did 3 minutes of dead hang half an hour ago. Ooh, good. Felt great. Stretching just feels so good. But yeah, I'm in a nice breaking point. I try and stretch as often as I don't know, that's not true. I would like to say I stretch as often as I can, but in reality, I don't stretch enough, and this is a great excuse to do it. But please, everyone join me. Let's all stretch together. Let's get that muscle flowing. Get that blood flowing. Don't let your muscles flow. Get the blood flowing into your muscles. Ooh, table tennis. Yeah, Smab, I forgot you do table tennis. That's cool. And I think I asked you, is that different than ping pong? And you said like maybe a little bit, but oh, my right leg, so sore. But yeah, we're getting a nice stretch in here. Oh, ooh, that's good. I'm trying to get 30 seconds on each stretch, trying to do 4 stretches. So it's about a little over 2 minutes then, I suppose, since I'm doing 30-second stretch on each leg, doing a calf stretch, doing a quad stretch. And I'll probably stretch my wrist a little bit as well. That's right, Corpus, stretch it out, get it in there good. We're gonna get ourselves all situated. We're trying to be healthy people. It turns out, so programming is great for your brain, not so great for your body, it turns out. Sitting around at a computer all day, not so great for your body. Oh, I can barely get my... All right, here comes the quad stretch. Barely get my leg up here. Oh, that's good. That's right. Socially versus like competitive or league. Oh, this quad stretch is awesome. Everyone get in some quad stretches if you can. Any type of stretch you can get in, do it. Do it. Who is it? Shia LaBeouf. Just, don't let your dreams be dreams. Just do it. Get that stretch in. Get in there good. Oh, it's good. All right. One more switch here. Let me get my other quad up. There we go. Sorry if you have to listen to me grunting. I apologize. No one wants to listen to that. I'll try to, maybe I should mute my microphone. Sorry if my noises are bothering you. It's just such a nice tretch here. All right. Ooh, that's good. Also gives my coffee a little bit of chance to cool off. It's a little too, the water's a little too spicy. A little too hot for my tongue to enjoy. Give it a little time to cool off. Just a bit. I want my coffee to be hot, but not scalding. Oh, that's good. All right, now we're gonna shake it out a little bit. Do a little bit of shaking here. Oh, do a couple arm rolls, and then we're gonna get back into it. Thank you for your patience. I hope you all managed to get a little bit of stretch in yourself. Daniel's got a game dev stream. What are you working on, Daniel? Feel free to promote it in my Discord as well, to remind me. I don't want to miss it. If I'm not streaming, I'll check it out. But if you're not on Discord, go ahead and join the Discord. Feel free to post it in the self-promotion section. I know I've caught several streams people have posted in the self-promotion section. Walk in the park simulator. That sounds cool. A walking simulator. Coffee. Look, if you want to be a winner, you got to fuel like a winner. You got to fuel like a winner. Whatever your body needs. My body needs a little bit of caffeine right now. So I'm going to fuel myself. I try not to get too caffeinated, though. Okay. Whew. Apparently there was something that I didn't save here, so we're going to add this little commit in. Chore. Commit. Status. Scene save. Okay. I actually only have a game playing stream because I don't do enough stuff on my stream. Yeah, it's so interesting because I essentially only do game, not even game, I only do coding on my stream. I started brewing coffee with half decaf. I can drink twice as much without stomach getting upset. That's one way to do it. I've seen that before too. They sell half calf coffee. I've seen that before. That makes sense. I usually have 1 or 2 cups of coffee and then tea. But I love the way coffee tastes. That's really what it is for me. And decaf coffee just doesn't quite taste the same. I love the way it tastes. So what are we gonna do here? What is our plan next? So if we go back to the sign on, let's go back to the sign on. All right, back in my sign on. Add chest piece, legs, head, feet. Really, all right, I'm gonna edit this. Bonus 1 and bonus 2. Finish or add unequip to equipment manifest renderer. All right, so we want to do an unequip next. Any equipment manifest controller. 100% decaf can't do it. So here's the thing: if I could get decaf coffee that tasted that I couldn't tell the difference, I'd probably try and drink that more. Because I think I'd give myself a little bit too much caffeine at this point. There was one point where I had way too much caffeine because I would only drink, essentially I was drinking coffee Monday through Friday before work. And then it was like Saturday, I would just feel sick and I couldn't quite figure out what it was. And then I had a little bit of coffee and I didn't feel sick anymore. I was like, oh, I'm having caffeine withdrawal. So turns out you can have caffeine withdrawal. So you do have to be careful about how caffeinated you get yourself. I want to work on drag and drop coming off of these things. So my equipment slot should be draggable. So my equipment slot controller should have a drag. So there's an inner, that part of the event system. Oh, it already has it. You have the enter and exit. We now want the I pointer, I drag handler. Okay, so we have an I drag handler. And this is gonna, and in fact, I drag begin handler. So when we start dragging, we want to be able to create, let me implement you. Let me implement your interface. Thank you. All right, so when we start dragging, so this is interesting because we only really want to be able to drag. We only want to be able to drag if there's something here, and we currently don't have enough information on whether or not something is in this slot. We know which slot it is, but I also, you know what? Actually, this is gonna just propagate. Yeah, so there's gonna be an event here. Okay. There's just gonna be an event that says, hey, this thing is getting dragged on drag begin. All right. And we just sort of propagate this up on drag begin to our parent. That's right. So the equipment slot controller here has a drag, so we can trigger this event, and it just is going to propagate up to our equipment manifest controller, just the same way we did with these slots. And so this actually is going to know how to deal with when a drag begins. All right, Daniel, go walk your dog. Have a good time walking your dog. Oh, my dog scared me so much last night. My dog got out the back gate. I guess when I was bringing the garbage out, it's today's garbage day, brought the garbage out, and I guess I didn't pull it shut all the way. So my dog, really sweet dog, we have a blue heeler, and it was at night. I just brought it out, and so we were getting ready for bed, and the dog usually comes and joins us when we go to bed, and I couldn't find him. I was going, where is he? And I went outside, and the back gate was scared me so much. It's 9 o'clock at night. He's such a good dog that we found him. He was just like, he decided he wanted to take himself on a walk, and he was very, very happy to see us. He wasn't trying to get away. He just thought, hey, look, I can go on a walk right now. But anyway, you're talking about you bringing your dog on a walk. My dog decided to go on a walk all on his own. Story Girl, so nice to see you. Happy Wednesday. I keep wanting to say happy Friday. My brain wants it to be Friday apparently, but happy Wednesday. So nice to see you. And so what we're going to do now, we have a slot.on begin drag. All right, so when we start dragging, we're gonna add a listener here, and this is just gonna be we're gonna write a method down here that create draggable item. All right, so we're gonna have a method private void create draggable item, and it looks like this. And it needs to have the item itself. So this is going to forward in the slot that we're using. Equipment slots like that. Slot.slot. Story Girl's not stopping for long. Got to be awake again in 7 hours. So just dropping in to wish you good dream, having fun and productive. Story Girl, thank you so much for your wishes. I appreciate it. I love that so much. Thank you for coming in. Anyone who hasn't checked out Story Girl's stuff, you should totally follow Story Girl. Musician, amateur game developer, game jammer, awesome stream. Go check him out if you want to see some music. I absolutely adore Story Girl's stuff. So Story Girl, thank you for popping in. Go check him out. There we go. Yes, and good night. Sleep well. And as always, you're welcome back anytime. On drag begin, we're going to add this listener. This here is going to create the... I want to clone the image. What's interesting, yeah, we're getting drag and drop. So let me show you what we got going on, Story Girl. We have inventory drag and drop, so we can equip things now. I'm working on unequip. So we're doing the inverse. So let me run it real quick. We got it working. I'm really, really happy. We added some renders. So in our equipment, we can take an item from our inventory, boop, drop it in, and equip it. Now I'm working on, can I get an unequip? So from your inventory, so what we're gonna do is when you equip it, it's gonna remove it from your inventory, and when you unequip it, it's gonna add it to your inventory. So I'm adding a drag and drop from my inventory now, or trying. I'm attempting to add a draggable. So this needs to create an item. So we sort of need this. Really, it's just gonna be an image template, I think. Can I just instantiate? So I'm pretty sure what I want to do is I think I can do image, and it's a Unity UI. So we got to do using Unity engine.ui. Right. Image dot. Can I just create a new image? New image. Image. Draggable. So to create an image, does it let me do this? New expression can be simplified. Image.image is inaccessible. I think what I need to do is actually do new game object. All right, so we're gonna do a new game object like this. And then we're gonna attach, so I can create a game object. So I create a new game object. Do I need to specify where this goes? Game object. All right, so we're gonna create a new game object. We need to put it in the parent canvas. So we did this in our inventory controller, I believe. Controller. Character, equipment manifest, inventory renderer. Is that where we did it? So some gnarly lot, not necessarily gnarly, but we created it and we want to add it to a canvas. Yeah, so we need to know where we're putting it. So we're gonna get our canvas when we boot up. Okay, so in our equipment equipment manifest controller, when this item comes into existence, we need to get the canvas. So on awake, canvas equals game object dot get component in parent. So it goes the other way. Somewhere up above us is the actual canvas. So we're gonna get the canvas dot transform and get the canvas that we're inside of, and we need to draggable dot parent dot transform dot parent set parent. Our parent's gonna be the canvas, so we're gonna put this inside of our canvas. So we create a game object, we put it in the canvas. I'm worried that this is going to adjust the scale factor on it, but I'm not 100% sure. I would like to, I might end up making a template object, but the idea is that we have a game object, then we give it an image. So draggable.add component image. We're going to give it an image. And then we're gonna set the image to be the thing that we're dragging. So in addition to that, we're gonna make it we're gonna call this obj image, and we also want to give it a draggable component. Draggable controller. AdventureQuest.ui. Draggable. So we're gonna add all this stuff in here. Like this. The draggable controller is the controller I made that makes it so it follows the mouse and it deallocates itself when you let go. So we have a draggable controller that we add to it. The image sprite should be set equal to, and this is why I'm going, maybe I need to go down inside of my I honestly think that I shouldn't be making a new component here. Well, I should be making a new component, but I think what I want to do is go down into the on drag begin. The controller sort of has this renderer, and the renderer has an image. So I think that's sort of what we want there. So we want to go get our renderer. And so part of me thinks that this should be part of my renderer. All right, so this should be part of my equipment manifest renderer. The renderer is sort of deciding these things. All right, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna move this into our renderer. And we're also gonna move this into our renderer. And we know that the renderers, oops, I did not copy. We know that our renderer has a controller, and so we can, the register says, okay, well, if this is a renderable thing, then we want to make it draggable. So I think that makes sense. It's part of rendering it on the screen. So the renderer has it. And so in fact, in our renderer, we want to have one of these. So public controller is going to go to this. And then this can become controller. So if I decide to change this from a get component, it will change it everywhere else as well. So if I decide to lazy load this, I can. Okay. So this would be dot controller dot on drag. Then we're going to create. Yes, because now I can get my equipment slot renderer and I have access to my image. Well, I will have access to my image, or some way to access it, or some way to instantiate that image. So, because I just want to still the underlying image under the hood. And the sort of nice thing here is I don't need to pass in the slot anymore, right? Instead, this is actually the equipment slot renderer. Let's rename this. This variable is poorly named. Slot renderer. All right, so our draggable item, we're getting the renderer, and now we can sort of dig into the renderer and say, let me go get that image. Let me go get that image in there. So what I want is to have the ability to clone this image and be able to use that. So I'm gonna create a public image. I don't want that exact image. I don't want to be able to modify it. I want to get a copy of it. Public image. Copy image, clone image. Get. I don't like using get clone image. This is what we're gonna do. Clone image. We're gonna take it and transform parent. Right. And this is just gonna be instantiate image parent. So it's just going to make a clone of that thing. So we don't want to be able to get a reference to this. We don't want anyone to change it on our behalf. Instead, we can get a copy of it. And that way it'll have the same sprite. So I don't have to do any magic to get the sprites, whatever sprite happened to be there. Okay. So now I have my renderer. I can say slot render dot clone image. I really don't like this name. And then this is where I put my canvas. I'm gonna say put yourself in the canvas. And I can move this logic. My manifest controller shouldn't need my canvas. That should have been assigned to me pretty early on. Is like, oh, well, I need a canvas that probably shouldn't be in the controller. And the controller doesn't care. If we're doing model view control, the controller doesn't care about what things look like. The renderer cares about what things look like. The controller cares about the actions that are being taken in the scene. Okay. And we need to go get this when we wake up. So in my renderer, in my awake, I'm gonna go get my canvas. This will make a copy of it, and then I want to image img, and let us get that namespace added. And we're gonna add in image dot add component, image dot game object dot add component. This is gonna become a draggable controller. So we want to be able to drag this thing around. Okay, and so we're gonna have the draggable controller. And if I look at how I did my inventory renderer, we have this on release, right? So we'll be able to notify things when it's released. So I'm not entirely sure. When our draggable releases, we get an on release. I don't know that we care that much about it. We're gonna find out. But I'm hoping I'm gonna instantiate, create a draggable. I know I need to have a draggable on there. And then I think when I release, I need to do something with it, which is probably notify. Okay. Is this going to work? So I have my longsword. Doesn't work. And that's not surprising. That's not surprising. Equipment slot renderer. Equipment lock controller. Begin drag. On drag. So let's see if this event is happening. So rather than just forwarding this, we're going to add in a little log. Debug.log drag begin. And I can get rid of this other log here for equipment, the equipment controller. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so we're going to drag. I'm going to try and drag here. Good coffee. Coffee, I should say, coffee is good. Coffee is subpar. So my drag event's not happening. So this thing happens to be an equipment controller, but my drag on these are sort of just not registering, which is interesting to me. And so my question is it the image? All right, so we're gonna try something here. It's not registered on any of them. My thought is that something is above them. Sleep well, Story Girl. Thank you for hanging out. Have a beautiful night. Keep on coding, keep on growing, and you're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much. So in our left hand, what's interesting is that's all of these are disabled. Where is this image getting set? Something's not right here. Where is this? Oh, I'm in the wrong spot. Okay. I wasn't in my actual scene. My equipment manifest. Okay, this makes more sense. The right hand. Mooniz, great question, great question. Unity events show up in the Unity inspector. So Unity events should be, so from what I understand, Unity event should be if you are doing stuff in a scene, specifically controlling stuff in the scene, the Unity events are nice. It also allows me to add events. So for example, my player character controller, this Unity event says, okay, whenever the character changes, I just notify all of these things that, hey, the character changes. So Unity events allow us to do it this way. That said, I do in other spots. So for example, my iObservable is not necessarily related to Unity directly. So all of my observables happen to implement like there's an event that occurs. But the Unity event itself allows me to have access to it here. And also, I think it's good practice to use Unity events related to things in your scene. I can't remember exactly. I remember reading about it a bit though. But the main benefit is you get access to it here in your scene for wiring things up nicely. Good question. Good question. Thank you for asking. So why? Oh, okay. So we're coming in here. I'm trying to figure out where the event is being blocked. So I drag it in. I'm fairly certain that this image, breakcast target. No, it's still not happening. My right hand, the drag is not firing at all. Ooh, I think I need to, let's go look at how did I did it on my item entry. Events and scriptable. Gotcha. Yeah. So I'm trying to learn the quote unquote like Unity way to do it without all the added stuff, which I think is maybe good practice. I'm not sure. So using libraries is incredibly important, but I'm teaching a Unity class, and so I think it's important to understand how things under the hood work in Unity specifically. Inventory item. All right, so then we have the inventory renderer. Yeah, just give them 10 frameworks and tell them again, that's what every YouTube tutorial does. It says, all right, copy and paste this giant chunk of code in. All right, now we've implemented Minecraft. Rave showed me this great video the other day that had that. I thought it was so funny. Where's my drag happening? So I'm trying, I wish there were better, and I'm just so critical as far as education goes. I wish there were tutorials out there that I felt comfortable with just giving my students to use. No, no, Rave is the one is like every coding tutorial ever, and it was like, all right, so open up Java. We're actually using Java 7. So sorry if you're using the latest version of Java. Got to go back. We're just copying this, and all right, now Minecraft exists. It's a great video. Great video. On drag release. Okay, so our inventory renderer. God, it's so funny. I agree. Inventory renderer, but under the hood we have our item info renderer. What is it? Item renderer. Inventory item renderer. Something has a click. What is going on? What's happening? Inventory item entry. If you want to post it on Discord, it might go through here. Yeah. So I think I tried to lighten it up so that you can post YouTube links. I think I did play around with it a little bit. Yeah, so creating like educational content's hard. Nightbot. All right, I'm gonna have to. I thought I had fixed. Oh, so gee, I'd mentioned to try it. I had mentioned trying it because I thought I had fixed Nightbot to allow YouTube links, but apparently I need to add in this different domain on it. Let's see if I can do that real quick. Because I did youtube.com, not uta.b. I set as an allowed. Yeah, so I think I posted it in. Yeah, so let's get rickrolled maybe. All right, no rickrolls. All right, so this is hilarious. We're gonna watch it real quick. Volume up. I hope everyone can hear it.
All right, guys, welcome to my beginner's programming tutorial. We're gonna create a simple program. All right, first we're gonna type in public class program, then public static void main string args. You know how it goes. Then import in this old ass outdated library from like 1994. Oh yeah, by the way, we're using Java 7, not Java 8, so sorry if you have to start over. All right, and then I'm gonna copy and paste this giant chunk of code. What this does is it makes your computer do stuff. Put that in your program and then compile and execute it, and there we go. We've created Minecraft.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing. It's good. That's good. All right. Beginner programmer tutorial. Yeah, exactly. It's how I feel about 90% of the Unity tutorials. Everyone, so a lot of Bracky's stuff is good, or Bracky's stuff is good, but so many bad practices get taught in that. Bracky's isn't copy and paste though. Bracky's like walks you through step by step. But there's a lot of bad practices going on in there. So basically, in my mind, you shouldn't start to learn to program by doing game development. You should learn a little bit of programming first, and then game development can be a good conduit for learning object-oriented coding, as well as structuring your code, software engineering a little bit. So I think it's a good conduit for learning more advanced topics. But you got to get the basics first. You can't just start, program. You can't create Minecraft. You can't just start. Minecraft shouldn't be your first project. Where is... All right, so we have a draggable somewhere. In our inventory, item entry. Oh, it's underneath. It's on our hover text. That's what it is. Our hover text has the begin drag. Okay, so I think we need to add in... All right, to make the iDraggable work... Yes. Okay. So. Okay. All right. So I let myself get a little bit off here. Our equipment slot. We cannot just attach a draggable to this. All right. We can't just attach a draggable to this. That's not true. We cannot just. Let me open this script. I cannot just put iBegin drag handler because there's various other things that have to be attached to make it work. So I'm gonna get rid of that. All right, so we're gonna just call this one begin drag. Okay, we can't just add it in there, so we're gonna do begin drag like this. We are gonna add in an event component specifically on this image. We actually only want it to be on this image here. So there's an event trigger that we're gonna add here. We're gonna say when a drag is begun on this internal image, we are going to actually invoke in our renderer. I gotta make this public, begin drag. Public begin drag. This is going to invoke the, where am I missing it? Equipment slot controller. Oh, in our equipment. Hang on, equipment slot renderer. It's in our controller. It's in our controller. Which feels weird. I want it to be on my renderer. My renderer is the one that needs this. Right? Now I'm not sure. Put it on my controller here. I think I'm getting myself confused. All right, so now we can invoke that begin drag, and that essentially, all right, we'll double check this here. Yeah, so it's all about propagating up. Aurora Games over on YouTube. Happy Wednesday. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Muniz says, sorry, I got distracted here. I got focused, and now I'm distracted. Muniz, I made a spaceship landing on a platform. You could roll it left and right and had an engine underneath. Consider, like as your first project. That sounds like a cool first project. Sounds like a really cool first project. Yeah, Aurora Games, welcome aboard. Happy to have you here. Ooh, look at that. That's a big old dagger. Scary. I'll get you. All right, so we're dragging. This is what I was saying, though. I felt like the scale was going to be off somehow. A little stabby. Okay. Why is that so giant? It's perfect. Rafe, it's perfect. Never stop. It's perfect. That's not a knife. This is a knife. Spooked me. It spooked me. All right, so, but we have the events propagating up for us here. Whew. Startled me. Working perfectly. Ship it. Ship it. Yeah, so I want... Why? I don't quite understand. I remember thinking that would happen. Can I pause? I can't pause it in time. I want to go click on it in the inspector. Is there a pause? What's a hotkey for pause? All right, Unity pause hotkey. Let's go look up the pause hotkey. Control Shift P is to Shift P. Control Shift P. Let's try that. I don't know if I can. My keyboard layout. I don't know if I can do Control Shift P on my keyboard layout here. We're gonna try. Chicka wow wow. Unreal's giving me grief. Oh yeah. If you want to check out some Unreal coding, let's do a shout out here. Chicka wow wow. Chicka wow wow does some Unreal stuff. If you want to learn a little bit about C++, Unreal Engine, be sure to follow Chicka wow wow and check them out. Well, no, I gotta show you. My keyboard's a little insane. Hey, let's see if we can get my keyboard in here. One sec. Let's turn on my dock cam here. All right, so my keyboard, I have a Kinesis advantage. All right, so this is my keyboard. Okay, so a little hard to see, but yeah, the Shift key. So I guess I could do Control Shift P with this one. You're right. So I have this pretty crazy keyboard, Control Shift P. But it's a little bit challenging to get in there in that regard. So my keyboard layout's just insane in general. Chihuahua is just experiencing pain and misery, but we're gonna see if we can get this dragged. Control. Oh my goodness. We did it. All right, Mooniz, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I have a little bit of carpal tunnel in my right hand. My right hand, I have carpal tunnel. So I say a little bit of carpal tunnel. I don't know if there's any such thing as a little bit of carpal tunnel. I have carpal tunnel in my right hand. I've had it for years, but this keyboard overnight, all of the pain and numbness went away. But I'm 90% sure here. The scale isn't. Oh, it's because the stretch factor. It's the stretch factor. Oh. So if we were to... So I need to make it so that the pivot... So it's not scaling, it's like it's stretching to be the size of the... Fascinating. So maybe what I really do want to do, it feels weird. Clone the image. Maybe I do want to clone. Maybe I didn't want to clone the image. I thought I wanted to clone the image, but maybe I wanted to clone. I don't think it needs all of this stuff though. It's not really. All right, clone the image. Let's see. All right, I'm trying to think about how so I understand the problem. I understand the problem. So let's explore what the problem is. So for anyone just joining us, anyone to recap my problem. I have many problems. Recap my current problem. I have many problems, not just my one problem. I have this draggable, and we don't want to spook. We don't want to spook the player when they go to unequip. All right, so I'm spooking the player right now when I click and drag that. What is happening, so the reason it is doing that is in our equipment slot, we have an image and it is set to stretch to the size of the parent. So I think the way to fix this, it's a zoom feature, we're gonna ship it. To fix it, instead, I'm gonna make this thing centered, all right? And we're gonna say that its width is 90 by 90, all right? So set it this way, and what we're gonna do is instead my parent is gonna have a layout controller. In this case we have one thing in it, so I do a horizontal layout controller. I'm gonna say change the width and height of your child. So it's gonna adjust the width and height, and we're gonna give it padding on all sides. We're gonna say, okay, well, we'll give you padding on all sides, and we'll center it in the middle, in the center. So now my image is pivot says just center, you know, the pivot is in the center. Don't stretch yourself undesirably. What's interesting is it doesn't seem to actually be controlling the child. Oh, it's because it's not on. All right, so if we were to turn this on, it would now say, oh, this is being controlled. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that this will fix it. And the cool thing is now whatever size, if I were to resize that slot, the size of it would be whatever size it was when I drag it out. So if I have different size slots, they should work. We're about to find out. We're gonna find out. Equipment slot, long sword. Now, okay. As you can see here, let's Control Shift P. Thank you, Mooniz, for letting me know. I have this. And I'm sad because the anchor is, why would you choose? That's okay, but the size is wrong. What if I That is really annoying. Why does it work so well with this, but not so well with that? I think maybe, okay. Do I have to? I could just force it to a size, but I want it to mimic the size that's there. So now we don't get a giant, now we get nothing. And I think it is because the parent's controlling it, or it doesn't have a preferred size. Let's try setting a preferred size on it. Let's go to our equipment slot, this image here. It's getting just... I'm curious. All right, so it's not cloning the whole object, it's cloning just the image and putting it on a new thing. So technically this thing got spawned. No, it did copy everything on it, which is fine. It did copy everything on, which is what I want. Set the pivot like that. The native size is going to be wrong. And it just hasn't rendered. Apollo, happy Wednesday, my friend. Welcome back. Welcome back. Were you able to get your PHP issue resolved? I'm curious. Were you able to get your PHP issue resolved for your file system? I hope what we did yesterday was helpful. Okay, so let's just force something real quick. I want to force just to debug here. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Daniel, welcome back. I hope your walk was nice. I hope your walk was pleasant. I hope your dog enjoyed it. I hope everything is working out for you. All right, so let's go to our slot renderer here. Mooniz, have a beautiful day, my friend. Thank you for popping in. As always, I hope you keep coding, keep growing, and you're welcome back anytime. Have a beautiful day. All right, so this thing, I'm gonna try and just force. I'm gonna try and force the rect transform of this to be a specific size. All right, so anchored position. We're gonna set anchor in the middle. All right, so I'm just gonna force this real quick. Rect transform dot rect transform. You're always more than welcome to lurk, and I'm happy you feel comfortable lurking. Size delta. The size delta. The relatives. The size of this rect from relative to the distances. Dot. XY. Size delta a vector 2. All right, so we're gonna try this new vector 2 90 90. We're gonna see if we can force it to a specific size. You're welcome, Apollo. It's my pleasure. I've actually thought about doing a stream that I call like have a time set up once a week or twice a week called Ox Hours. I love taking a crack at other people's problems. I've thought about having a stream scheduled called Office Hours where I work on whatever it is, but people can sort of come with questions and submit their questions and have them, and we work on those problems together. I'm a little nervous to do it though, right? Because I need to have some sort of filter system, because some problems I maybe don't want to work on. And then how do I make it fair if there's lots of people? So I need to come up with a system to do it. But I've thought that would be a really cool stream to have called office hours. And it gives me coding challenges to do, right? I don't know how interesting it would be to watch, but I think it would be interesting it'd be fun for me to do, I think. All right, so we're gonna try and force the size and see if that, all right, so if we force the size, it works out. Okay, so I can do it that way if I force the size there. So what I need to do then is when I clone this thing, all right, so I can force the size. When I clone it, when we clone the image, we're gonna try the following: image, new image. I'm gonna see if I can get the relative size. So we want our new position, and we'll call this IMG. IMG. Return IMG at the end. We're gonna be formatting that. Yeah, so if anyone has a good idea, so I want to do it, but I'm not sure how to set it up so that it's fair, right? So fair and interesting. If anyone has an idea on how I might set it up, I'd love to hear it. I'd like to know how to set it up in an interesting way. That so the challenges are like, how do you make it fair? How do you keep it interesting? How do you keep it from having giant problems? I don't think a good office hours problem would be Chihuahua, can you fix my code too? So maybe I don't want to have it come in and be some giant thing like, well, I want to implement a 90 thing. So the idea would be it'd be small projects. Yeah, gee, that's probably what I can do, is have like an office hours document or something, so that we can submit your problems. But then sometimes it's, it might be too late to work on. I don't know. Because I do run office hours for my students. It's just an interesting thought. How do I make that work? If I do it here, does it work? Exactly. So I think I need to have it more along the lines of, I need like a Stack Overflow clone site, something that's like Stack Overflow, and tell people you need to have so it'd be a really good practice for people to saying how do you ask good questions. So you need to be able to present your problem in the following way, so that the question needs to be asked in a Stack Overflow-esque way, which says, I'm experiencing the following problem. I've written this code. This is what I expect it to do. So when it runs, I expect it to do this thing, but when I execute it, it does this other thing. So learning how to phrase questions as a programmer in that way is super important. And it's one of the reasons people say, oh, well, whenever I post anything on Stack Overflow, it gets smashed. They don't do it. It's, in a lot of ways, it's, well, you didn't try to fix your problem first, right? So it's one of the things my students learn very quickly in my classes. There are no dumb questions, there's no stupid questions, but there are definitely good questions, or well thought out questions. Yeah. So instead of setting it to 9090, I want to get the original image. So I can do image dot rect transform dot size. I don't want the size delta. I want the actual world. I need to get the size of this size delta relative to the distance between the anchors. I want to get the, all right, actual size. So let's do a quick search here. Unity rect transform get actual size. How do I get the literal width? My solution is to choose a coroutine to wait until the next frame. Rect transform.rect.width. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I think if I had a Stack Overflow clone, that would be cool. And then I could go in. It'd be sort of like post your questions there, and then I could go in and find ones to answer and try and answer them live. Rect.rect.width. Here we go. This is what we want. Rect is the actual. This is returning a rect actual size. Actual size dot x. Oh, that's interesting. A rect doesn't give us the. This is its space dot width. All right. So xy and actual size dot height. All right. Let's try this. I think I got it. So we basically created the anchor in the middle. So that way it'll be in the middle of the mouse, right? So this is going to be where the draggable centers itself. And then the actual size here. And then we got to test that out a little bit by adjusting the actual size of our little equipment slot. Yeah, Apollo, I think that's a good idea. And then potentially, well, Control Shift P. What is the size that it's actually putting on this? Why is it 0, 0? That makes me so sad. I want to get the actual size, please. Well, that was disappointing. That was disappointing. Rect, the calculated rectangle in the local space of the transform. Okay, I want the world space. The actual size of the rectangle. Our equipment slot. I want to get that. Maybe. All right. So we're going to try. All right. We're going to do the following. Rect. I think this is going to work. I think this will work. I don't need to get the actual size. The size is getting set because it's relative to the top left corner. And so we can get a real size on it. We can do image. Oh, and really the problem was because I wasn't using the base image. This I think will work. I had a bug where I was basically using my current size to set my size. All right, I think this will do it. Let's give it a try. Let's see if it works. Come on, baby. Yes. Okay. So now if I come to my scene real quick, I want to see whether or not this. All right. So I'll go to my right hand here. Let's make this nice and big. So my question is, now that this is bigger, when I click and drag, yeah, it uses the size of the image that's there. Oh. All right, so we have the equipment manifests items can be dragged out, so that's pretty cool. So let's do a quick recap of what we did, and then I'm going to do a commit. So we now have the ability to drag these, and the next thing to do is we want to be able to drop it into the inventory, right? So we want to take this and be like, add to inventory. We can equip things here, and then we can unequip by dragging them off. That's the feature we're trying to add in. Let's take a look at what we actually, the code here. All right, so everything that happened, everything new. Look at how few files we touched. That's how you do it. If you're doing it right, you should touch as few files as possible per commit, which would be good. And I should really be doing like feature branches. I need to start doing that. I need to start doing feature branches instead of working just directly on my development branch. So that way I can focus on those features, and then I can sort of I can show people how to squash merge them in to concise commits. So a mental note to do that in the future. So here we go. We can see all of the changes we made here. All right, so this also helps us catch little bugs we might have written, like all this white space. I don't need this white space. And did I add things that I'm not using? So I refactored that there. My inventory item render, it looks like I just got rid of some white space, which is always a good thing, like redundant white space. My equipment manifest renderer, added that in. I'm trying to see if there's anything in here that, all right, we can get rid of this white space as well. This white space. We added the on drag, begin drag, and we just sort of propagate that up. We removed the debug there. So everything here looks, this is one of my cleanest little, the things I've done. So I'm pretty proud of this here. And we have a comment here I don't need. So we center we have the anchor be centered, and then we get the actual size and we clone it. All right, so this is all one thing I can put in here. And so we implemented, this is sort of work in progress, WIP work in progress, add drag, begin drag to equipment slots renderer. All right. I did not say that things are unsaved. There we go. Add that back in. Close all. Commit. Stink. Boom. Okay. But yeah, I should really be doing this on a feature branch called equipment manifest renderer, since I'm building this, or status screen. That's like the big feature. I should be doing it on a separate batch, just like get this working, and then each of my individual commits inside of that can sort of track my progress. And then when I merge that into develop, I sort of squash it down into one thing, just so that I don't end up with thousands of commits, especially if you're on a big team. Committing frequently is good, but when you finish a whole feature, that should be sort of put together. So this is like the overall big feature. So we have drag off. So we're gonna need to be able to drag it into our inventory. So right now our inventory, we can't like drop things on it, but we need to be able to drop things onto our inventory. So in our inventory prefab, we need to have on, this is on drag release, so that's when we're dragging items out. We need to have an on drop where we can drop items onto the inventory. So we're gonna add an event to our inventory that lets us do an on drop. Is that what we want? No. Our inventory controller, that's wrong. Do we have an inventory? I don't think we even have an inventory controller. Do we? Inventory controller. We don't have an inventory controller yet. Oh, so we actually need an inventory controller, and that needs to have the ability to add items. And on our, is that right? We want to be able to drag things into our inventory. So essentially our inventory sort of has to have this idea of whether or not we're hovering over it. And when we release the item, it should try to add itself to the inventory. So if we're hovering over the inventory. Okay. So our draggable needs this idea of sort of a target. Has an on release. And our equipment manifest controller needs to know All right, so I'm trying. My brain is trying to map out what I'm doing here. My brain is trying to map out what I'm doing here so that I can construct it in a not horrific way. Our inventory needs to know when we have moved, when our mouse moves in or out of it. So our renderer should know when we've moved in and out of it. Wow, according to Google, my solution is I had to literally remove the class, recreate it with another name, and relink inheritance for its child class. That's fascinating. I wonder what the link, there's some issue with linking or something caught up. I wonder if you could have, I don't know the exact issue, but a potential, sounds kind of like it needed to like do a complete rebuild. So you might have been able to, like blast your build and sort of remake it, force it to do a full make. I wonder if that would have worked. This is me saying that with absolutely no context. Yeah, so our inventory renderer needs to know. We need an inventory controller is what we really need. So I need to create a new script here. Inventory controller. So we need to be able to like add things to the inventory and observe it in that way. Or should it be on the player? Our observable character. Recommending co-work so that we can update our co-work status on Nightbook. I'm gonna have to look up. I have no or assign on. I agree. That would be great. I don't know how. I am no good at this streaming thing. I'm gonna have to figure it out. But yes, thank you for the recommendation. Formal Goose had also recommended that. I think it'd be really cool to add. I have no idea how to do it. Have to do it regular. That's annoying. That's really annoying. I wonder what the issue is. Cool, Daniel. Have a nice chill stream. Excellent. Streaming's addictive. I gotta say, streaming is an addictive, I almost said sport, but it's an addictive activity for sure. So I've been trying to turn my streaming into something productive, which has been fun. This has been really fun. I am trying to focus. All right. When I drag here, I need an event to tell me that I've hovered over this, and it needs to notify my equipment manifest that it has the inventory selected. Yes. So my inventory renderer needs to have a right now has an observable character inventory. Oh, I do have a thing called character inventory. This should be okay. This should be called a character inventory controller. So I've made a bad naming issue here. So I was okay. So this should be called a character inventory controller. All right. So here's a not so pro tip. I would like to rename this to character inventory controller. All right. So I want to rename this character inventory controller. If I rename it, so pro tip, do not rename your files in your file editor, in your IDE. Do not rename your files. Rename them in Unity. So I have a character inventory. This needs to be called a character inventory controller. If you were to rename this in your IDE, in your editor, it's going to break the script. So anything it's attached to is going to forget about it. So you should rename your file here. Okay, now I do have an error. So if I come over here, I'm going to have an error here on the script and it can't find it. But it has a reference to the script. It's just saying that this script doesn't have the correct class name. So now I have the character inventory controller. So you rename your file in Unity, but rename your class. Rename the class in your IDE. So that'll propagate out. Of course, it says 0 references, so it's not a big deal, but using the refactor there allows me to rename it. So now I didn't lose anything that I had attached to this script in my editor. So that's something I struggled with a lot and was very, very painful to rename things. So rename them in Unity. Rename the files in Unity. Okay. So I have this character inventory controller. So this is what's going to allow me to modify the inventory. So this thing needs to have sort of like the add item to it. And we want an on select. An on select. What's character render? That's interesting. When we're hovering over it, we need an event here. So in our I don't think I need it's an image here that's not enabled. Fixed it. All right, chicka wow. Boom. Fixed it. Congratulations on your fix. We need to go in here. I hit Control P to find again. My inventory here needs to have an event. So the renderer, yes, this is part of the renderer. Inventory renderer needs to have an event that we can listen to that lets us know on mouse enter and on mouse exit. So we need to know when we've entered and exited this so we can register that we are in it. So on mouse over, on mouse exit. And it's specific to this image here. So we're going to add in so this thing here is going to have we got to import it in the events system. What's going on? Cortana, go away. In our events system, there's two interfaces I think we want to implement. The first one is the I pointer enter and I pointer exit. So when we enter or exit our inventory, we're going to forward that event off. So these should be relatively easy implementations. Implement explicitly. So this is just going to say on mouse enter.invoke. And then we go to on mouse exit.invoke. Okay. So we just say, okay, when we enter exit, we know that we are either hovering over the inventory or not hovering over the inventory. So we should be able to forward those out now. And since I put it on this prefab, this should now appear for me in my inventory here. Yeah, so I have my mouse enter, my mouse exit. So specifically, I think I want to register my manifest here. All right, so my manifest, when we enter, my controller needs to know that I'm hovered over. Yeah, so my equipment manifest controller needs to know that I can drop this thing. So we are gonna add in a field. This one can be private. Private bool can drop. All right, and we're gonna say that can drop. Oh, I'm wrong. This needs to be a public. No. Kind of needs to be a public. If I make it public, it'll be easy. So this will be public bool can drop get set. Okay. So this bool, now in our mouse enter, we set it to we can drop, and on the mouse exit, so can drop becomes true when we enter, and can drop becomes false when we exit. So the idea would be that now we're going to be able to trigger the public void unequip equip item to unequip, and basically we're going to say if can drop, if we cannot drop, we just return, we don't do anything. Otherwise we're going to attempt to, so we'll do these asserts. And really I should put all this into a method here just called like assert equip unequip, some generic assert. And our has equipment dot unequip yes, so we gotta do, we're gonna wrap it here again. So we need to make sure the item happens to be an equipment. To unequip. If it's an equipable, we're gonna call unequip, and unequip just takes in the equipable thing. What does unequip take? The slot. Okay, so it takes in the slot. All right, so this unequip needs to be an item or an equipment slot. Okay. And so we actually don't need that, and instead this is going to be a bool. Bool is changed. Okay. So we're taking our has equipment, we're going to try and unequip that slot when we get this bool, whether or not it has changed. And then we're going to create another event here on, so we can sort of tell people when we unequip stuff. And the unequip one is literally just going to say what the equipment slot that we're unequipping. Although, actually, we do want it to be the item as well. Yeah, so when we unequip, we want it to be the item that was in that slot, so that way we can add it to our inventory. We want to be able to pass that to our inventory. Although maybe unequip should take the character as well. I'm torn on this implementation. So there seems to be like, I'm smelling the code smell. Corfless, it's totally a thank you for letting me know. For giving me such a compliment for coding so long. I truly believe, I know that the brain isn't a muscle, but I truly believe your ability to program for longer period of time is a skill you have to develop. I've been programming for over 25 years at this point, so I think I've flexed that muscle quite a bit. So we're gonna say if is changed. So if we actually did that, we need to event. Wokeman over on YouTube. Hello, welcome aboard. Welcome to the stream. Happy Wednesday, my friend. How are you? How are you doing, Wokeman? So now we're gonna have an on unequip, and we need to dot invoke we're gonna pass the item. So I gotta figure out the item. We'll do null here for now. And that's gonna be the slot. So I want to do the following. I'm gonna say has equipment.equipment dot equipped. And we can figure out what is equipped there. Corporate, it's only been 3.5 years. Everyone's got to start somewhere, right? Woke man, so glad you're doing good. So glad you're doing good. Curious, Woke man, over on YouTube, I've started to get more and more people watching on YouTube, which is fascinating and awesome. How'd you find me? I'm always curious. What is equipped? Equip's a dictionary from an iEquipment slot to an equipable. So we're gonna do a try get value slot. I'm gonna say if. All right, here we go. Try get value, pass in the slot, and this is gonna create an out iEquipable to remove. All right. So this lets us check. It sort of does a twofer for us. So it's gonna check whether or not something exists in the slot, as well as give us that value. Would Unity event trigger component be useful in the inventory system, or does it have some downsides? So I'm using it in certain spots. So the Unity coder, great question. Great question. So the event trigger, I am using it. It depends on where you want. So for draggables, I have found it useful. So my equipment slot, I added an event trigger on the image itself. All right, so the image itself sort of forwards itself up to the on drag begin. So I have an event here that's on drag begin, so we can listen for when that drag is going to start. And so my equipment manifest listens to that. But potentially, you say you wanted multiple things to know when a drag starts. So you have like a diagnostic panel. You could have it connected here and says multiple things will know when that drag starts. But the event trigger I've attached directly to the image, and that is what notifies this on drag begin. So it's sort of like this interesting propagation up of who do you want to notify and how do you want to notify them. And then down at the bottom, I have this event trigger specifically on the image that gets fired. So I didn't want to necessarily write a whole nother script here specifically for being like, okay, well now I need to register this on the image. I was watching a video. I saw you're live on right side. Sorry. Woke man, no worry to say sorry. No need to say sorry. I'm not sure what message got redacted, but Nightbot can be a little bit extreme. So it comes with managing complexity, Unity Coder. I think sometimes events can feel like you're adding like layers of complexity, but in a lot of ways it's sort of like separating out the events a little bit. Did I answer your question, Unity Coder? And again, I'm new to Unity, but I've done a lot of programming, so I could be wrong. I could be wrong. So if we know it's there, then we can do this. All right. So if it's there, we can. So the idea is you might have a cursed item. So equip might fail as well. It's useful. So it's been useful for building my own drag and drop system. Apparently the new Unity event system has sort of some drag and drop stuff built in. So I might be doing overkill. So this is what I have though. This is the item that we're removing. So the on unequip, we just unequip this. Unequip returns true when we're done unequip. If it was successful in unequipping, otherwise it returns false. And so we sort of propagate this in here. So we get the value. If the value exists, then we try to unequip that slot, and then we propagate that removed thing back up. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. Another alternative would be to change the return type to unequip to sort of give us some kind of result that gives us the item that was turned. So it has a true and also the item. That might be a way to reduce this complexity a little bit as well. I am a big, anyone who watches me stream knows that I am what is often referred to as a never nester. I'm a never nester. I try never to nest more than twice or 3 times. 3 is sort of the limit for me. I could also have done an and here, but I think this is a little bit more explicit and easier to read. Readability is important when nesting. So let's keep going here. Unequip. All right, so my controller and I also only want to do okay, so I did if I can't drop, I don't. All right, so my can drop turns on and off whether or not I'm hovering. And then I try and remove it, and then on the actual unequip, it sort of needs to propagate that item somewhere. I don't know if I need the equipment slot, but that's fine. And so my inventory needs to have the ability to inventory controller. We want to be able to add an item to it. All right, so we're gonna come in here and do public. Let's do protected. Public void add item. And then item to add. And this is why I'm not sure that my event maybe shouldn't emit the equipment slot, 'cause it's going to be ignored here. Because when we remove something from our manifest, we might care about this slot, but really I'm caring about this to remove. So I could add both. I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna make it so that there's sort of this void add item to add. I'm gonna do this. All right, so this just forwards it. We ignore this. I'm gonna put an underscore. So it's very, very clear that it gets ignored. It's just a nice, helpful thing to have because that's the shape of our event. But I think it'll be nice to have that event because you could have a message that says, such so-and-so removed something from their left hand. So we want to be able to add it into the inventory. So in this case, it's the character we're observing .inventory.add to add. Okay. So if we've built this correct, we can add an item to our inventory when we drop it in there. So if can drop is true, it should sort of oh no, I gotta wire it up. I still gotta wire it up. So in our equipment manifest on unequip, we need to add item. So when we unequip, we forward that. So this is the event here. This is how we wire it up. My equipment manifest could potentially exist outside of this scene without an inventory, but when we unequip, so the idea is like, okay, well then we can have a different unequip somewhere, and in some cases we just don't allow unequip. All right. What's interesting is I have this unequip. Take care, Daniel. Have a beautiful day, my friend, and we'll see you next time. Yeah, have a beautiful day. Thank you for hanging out as long as you did, and we'll see you again next time. See you again next time. Okay, let's see here. My equipment manifest controller. Okay, so it's all sort of wired up inside of this. So maybe I should do the same thing here, actually. Okay, I'm gonna move this logic here. I'm gonna get rid of this. And I'm actually gonna add the logic inside of the controller when we do the unequip here we want to make sure that we're equipping to the character that we're observing. So in this case, we have character.inventory.add the item, which was to remove. This is, again, this is a code smell I'm having, where when I do unequip, I feel like I should, unequip should know where that item goes. And so this feels kind of wrong to have this logic here, because it's not in my equipment manifest. Like my controller's doing too much. To do, this should probably be part of unequip. So unequip probably should have sort of this idea of an argument that is like an optional inventory where that item's moving, or somewhere where you can put the item. So like a low, you know, it might, so for example, you might be equipping between slots, right? So unequip could potentially take in another item slot to move it to. Yeah. Oh, my headphones just, my headphones just said charge me. I'm assuming that didn't come through, but I'm getting closer. I got 9 minutes, 10-ish minutes left. I'm curious if we're all wired up here. We're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna give it a shot. Our equipment manifest. I'm curious. Okay. Our equipment manifest can drop field serialize. I'm curious whether or not this is turning on. So we're in the process of debugging this here. So our equipment manifest, come over here, equip my dagger. When I equip it, I need to remove it. All right, hang on. I need to remove it from my user as well. Again, this is why it's sort of indicative that something weird is happening, is that I'm equipping it here. This should remove it from the inventory perhaps, but we are gonna go ahead and add that here real quick. Character.inventory.remove to equip. So if we're successful, we're gonna remove it from the inventory. Fauzan, good day. FYI, I found you when Google Unity Live. Thank you so much for letting me know. I wonder if those are, I forget, but there's probably some hashtags I used that said I was doing Unity and maybe live coding. But I'm glad you found me. Thanks for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed it. There we go. So now it removes from the inventory. So can drop's not triggering. Oh, I know exactly why it's happening. I know exactly why this is happening. The image that I'm holding is blocking me. So when that drag starts, I need to disable the raycaster. So the event system's getting blocked by the image itself. And so what we need to do this, disable raycast. All right, we need to disable the raycast on our equipment manifest renderer. Yes. So this image dot, so it's here, image. Let's see, what is that part of? Image dot canvas. Oh, I created a thing called disable raycast. Okay, dot raycast. All right, dot image dot raycast target equals false. So the raycast is blocking the mouse. G, thank you so much for hanging out. Have a beautiful day, my friend. Keep coding, keep growing. I hope your leg feels better. And you're welcome back anytime. We'll see you. We'll see you next time. All right. Chico Wow. Have a beautiful day as well. I got to go here in 5 minutes too. So thank you so much for hanging out. Have a beautiful day, my friend. I'm looking forward to catching your stream again in the future. Take care. so we can equip the dagger. It's still not turning on. Oh, all right, let's check it out. Control Shift P. This thing here. All right, so no longer is a raycast target. So really though, let's try something here. Really, I think it's set up. My equipment manifest can drop. Okay, the can drop's just not getting set properly. Something's not. Check it out. All right, so it's only letting me do can drop when I'm hovering over one of these things. So the image here. All right, so let's go to my inventory. On mouse, enter this image. On mouse, enter inventory renderer. Inventory render, eye pointer handler. So this is strange to me. Inventory. Huh. I'm so close. I'm so close. So it will work. So I think let's test something out. Let's test something out. My idea. So when I hover over these, so check it out. Event equipment manifest has this idea of whether or not I can drop stuff. I can drop stuff if I'm hovering over one of the existing items. So the trigger isn't happening on this image, but I think if I do this, it didn't drop. Okay, it didn't drop, but is it triggering? Oh no, I never wired that up. All right, so we're close. We're close. We didn't wire it up in our equipment manifest renderer. When we actually create the on drag begin, I didn't. So when we create this draggable, we have to tell it what to do. On release, when we release, we need to say what we do. And in this case, our controller, we need to invoke our controller. Yeah, so I need to create a private equipment manifest controller. We're going to switch this to our controller. And so when we release, we're going to call on our controller unequip slot renderer dot slot. Okay, so I never was actually calling the actual unequip. All right, so then it says, okay, when we release, try to unequip. You're gonna fast for 16 hours. Are you on an intermittent fasting diet? I've been doing a little bit of dieting myself. More than anything, just counting my calories. I tend to eat pretty healthy, I think, but I tend to overeat. So the only way, yeah, I got up to, all right. Hey, look at that. And in fact, we're not actually equipped anymore. I suspect if I do this, it's gonna not equip. But our renderer didn't update, so our equipment's not manifesting it back to us. But I bet if I were to drag my dagger in. Okay, so we can equip and unequip. It won't let me equip the dagger because there's something there, so I need to get like an error dialog going. Gotcha. Fasting can be really, really good for you in some, as long as you're careful about it. Okay, I want to get this thing re-rendering itself real quick. All right, so when we're unequipping, all right, so we actually have to invoke our equipment manifest control when we unequip. Our renderer, all right, so our equipment manifest renderer we want to propagate this down. So equipment manifest renderer on unequip. We need to have a clear. All right, so our under here we need a clear. How do we okay. So public void clear render. So the idea is if there's nothing to render, our image.gameObject.setActive is false. So we got to be able to clear it out. I want to finish this one little thing and then I'm going to pop off. But Thousand, thank you so much for watching. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Just a few. I can never end on time. I always go late, so that's why I plan ahead. I got 40. I start work in 45 minutes, so I got a little bit of time. Set false on the actual unequip. We need to propagate that down to, this needs to register on unequip. Okay. Okay, so I did need this. So this will be on unequip. We're going to do a clear here. And clear. We actually don't need any of that, but our renderer lookup dot clear render. Okay, so we're gonna clear the render, so we've unequipped it. So if we've tied up our events right, it should propagate down. Must grind philosophy assignment, so catch you later. All right, my friend, have it. Good luck with your philosophy assignments. Thanks for hanging out, Core. As always, you're welcome back anytime. All right, check it out, guys. Guys and gals, anyone who cares, we can equip and unequip. The one little thing I want to do is I need to make it so that I can drop it anywhere over here, not just on the other items there. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get that working real quick. 3 minutes. Must get working. All right, so we're gonna try this event trigger. And we're gonna say, I don't, pointer enter, and pointer exit. And this is getting too big. Inventory renderer. So I'll have to refactor this. I just want to get it working so bad. And then we're just gonna pass it on to on pointer exit on pointer. Okay, so we should be able to add 2 events here. And it's on this. And inventory renter. Blast. All right, we're gonna. All right, real quick, we're gonna come up here. This now has an event. Did I just not add it here? I did. Right, so I'm curious if this will trigger on the image. Something's going on. Something about how entering and exit work is causing me trouble. Can drop false. Can drop true. All right. Do this real quick. We're almost there. We're almost there. Equipment manifest. No, it's still okay. So there's something about this. There's something. Okay, there's something on top that's just stopping it. Okay. So let's undo that real quick. Let's get rid of this. These are working. We just are propagate them incorrectly. I think what's happening is this item list is taking up the full space or something. Okay. But the collision's not working on the invert. We're close. We're so close. All right, I got to stop here. Let's, in my inventory, it did take it off. Okay. All right, let's do a quick commit. This is a work in progress commit. Manifest. Let's look. What did we get? No. Clicking on those slows everything down. Close all. Let this load up here. If you haven't done so already, and you'd like to keep in touch, know when my streams are happening, I typically stream every day, 7 a.m. Eastern, with some exceptions. But in general, unless I'm gonna, as long as I'm awake, I stream. I guess I should add that there is like a schedule option in Twitch. Yeah, we're gonna see here. Why won't this, let's try reloading here. Clicked on, there we go. Another not so pro tip is if you click on these prefabs, it tries to load up some renderer for us. That equipment manifest. We have, all right, so we're gonna commit this. Give it a second here. I might have to do it from the terminal. Yeah, commit. Come on. -m chore. Or work in progress. Work in progress. Implement unequip with drag drop. We'll push it in there. And in my to-do real quick, sync this up. In my to-do, I'm gonna add in here that once my keyboard starts working, everything has to slow down. Unity code, yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out next time. Unfortunately, I'm out of time. Thank you for the advice. It's one of the things I love about streaming. All right, everyone, we're gonna find someone to raid. If there are any raid suggestions, let me know. But we're gonna find someone to raid here. Try and keep it in Twitch stream. None of my people that I follow are on. But let's take a look here. Let's browse. Game dev, Rave. Thank you so much. Everyone else, please enjoy it as well. Any suggestions on raids? Let's try Unity. Someone here. No, Daniel said. Daniel was saying that they were going to start streaming. Hedge in. All right, we'll do hedge in. Hedge in. Excellent. We're going to raid hedge in then. Go check out their stream. Make sure they're not on a break. Oh, good. An ad. Is this going to play an ad for me? They have Unity here. So they're doing some Unity. Aurora Games says, Are you trying to suggest someone to me? Hi, Aurora Games. Hello. I don't know why this won't load for me, but we're gonna raid over here. Raid. Edge in. All right, everyone. As always, keep on coding, keep on growing. You're welcome back anytime, and I hope you all have a beautiful day. And I'll be back tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.